G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined by my partner in crime today, who's lagging a little bit, but he'll be right. Algared, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. I'm still getting over the nasty, horrible effects of COVID, but yeah, every day gets a little bit better. You know, kind of crawl there, but as you said, we are lagging. We noticed that it's in our prep. It's about we were up 2 or 3 seconds. We worked out. So
Have you got a sound in the
if we
background?
seem to talk over each other, that
got...
was our live stream and the automatic ad that kicks in when our live stream.
Okay.
I just muted it.
Right. I was going to say, just in the blur there, you look very much like Colonel Sanders today. And just pulling that off. All right. Sorry. All right.
Excellent.
So we're going to be talking about CitizenCon a little bit today in a few of the things we're going over, because obviously the tickets went on sale. We're going to talk about some price hikes on some of the ships. We're also going to be taking your questions. I believe ISC is still on. He didn't tell us he was taking a break, so I assume it's still on.
I thought they said for Citizen. I thought I heard Citizen. There was some discussion somewhere. I can't. And this is clearly showing how focused I've been on Star Citizen this week. But I thought I heard somewhere there was going to be discussion on CitizenCon and what was that CitizenCon. But
yeah, probably.
That may have just been my dreaming and hoping, you know. But, yeah.
Let me address it now because it's going to happen a few times. Apparently, it's our happy affiliate anniversary on Twitch. We got affiliate on Twitch years and years ago. I didn't even know it was a thing. So yeah, but yeah, thanks very much for those that are saying thank you for your affiliate. But that's totally fine.
Yeah.
We don't do it for that, but yeah, cool. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I'll get the bot up, Algared, and we can get started. What do you want to talk about first, man?
Oh man, are you going to CitizenCon?
I wish.
And why aren't I going to CitizenCon?
Because it costs an arm and a bloody leg.
It costs an arm and a leg.
I reckon I've had about 30 messages in the last 24 hours asking me if I got my tickets and stuff like that. But how to put this? I would love to go, but I can't justify it. It's just so expensive. Like, I know it's 2 days, and we'll talk about that 2 days because I think that's a really big sign of things as well. But yeah, it's not the release of the game. It almost feels, well, you tell me if you think any different, but I think it's just going to be the announcement of the release of the game.
Yeah, I tend to think that everything I've heard seems to imply that if we get anything on Squadron, and we've expected we'd get something on Squadron, it'll be the announcement that this is the plan going forward. I imagine, you know, I would expect that, and this is even going beyond, even before things that I've heard on the background, that if Squadron was coming out, there'd be a world advertising tour where Chris would be going around everywhere and plugging it.
And they've been doing that more and more, haven't they?
They're doing that more and more, but it'd be a full-on publicity tour, and we haven't seen that. And that is a big indicator to me. So when you see that coming, I reckon when that happens, we know we're within 6 months.
I'd be expecting, like if this is what we're expecting, which is like the announcement of Squadron 42 and all that, and they kind of keep denying that. They're saying, it hasn't been taken down. Like, Squadron 42 has been taken down the store. Well, why else would you take it down? There's never been a price increase before. To bring it back with other things. But I'm expecting like a trailer. I'm expecting it being in LA as well. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not someone there to announce it, or several people. And I mean by that is the celebrities that are in the game.
People like Mark Hamill or John Rhys Davies or Gary Oldman or any of those type of guys.
It's in LA. It's the place to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I got to admit, if this was kind of the announcement of a trailer and they're trying to start geeing up support, having those guys there would be beyond my imagination. But that's total speculation and hopeism, I suppose, or hopium at that point.
On Twitch, Steffanisi says, I was wondering about the digital goodies pack. Well, the digital goodies pack you've been able to buy or been given every year. So I wouldn't
Yep.
worry about that. I think one year it was $10, wasn't it, Algared, from memory?
Yep.
So it's not that expensive. That was the thing that really got me about the CitizenCon tickets. A default ticket was $200. That's the most expensive I've ever seen a ticket to this thing. I think one year they were 50, and I think the most expensive before that was 99. So it's like it's really jumped. And the premium ticket, $300. That's insane. That's almost Redeemer level, Caterpillar levels of ticket price. It's crazy.
Admittedly, this is a 2-day conference as opposed to a 1-day conference.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. You do have to pay for a second day. So I'll give you the $200 one. That kind of makes sense. And then the extra $100 is the after party at CIG. So obviously there's food and stuff there as well. So yeah, I can give you that. Makes a lot of sense now. I think about it.
But it's still expensive tickets.
Yep.
And then for us, it's added airfare.
I think the last time you and I worked it out, it was in the neighborhood of $5,000. It was a pretty expensive trip. The last time Algared and I looked at tickets before COVID, it was $1,500, and I looked recently, and it was $2,500 return. And that might seem not that expensive initially, but the accommodation on most trips is usually equal to what the accommodation to the airfares are. It's very, very common. Depending on how long you go, it's usually roughly a week or something like that. And if we were going to go, we'd try and go for as long as possible, obviously, to maximize the expenditure. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'd love to go. I know other Aussies that are going. Our mate Diabolus got a ticket. He reached out to me. Diabolus got one, so he's going. I've talked to a few of the others. I know some of the other content creators are going.
Looking forward to the.
All right, we'll do. Thanks, Kazam. Kazam's just telling me.
For those looking forward to the costume, the fact that Diabolus is going probably means there'll be a very sweet-looking costume.
Most definitely. I'm having a little trouble with my dual computer software. Just give me a second. You keep talking though, Algared. I will just persist. I know you're seeing it on the screen, but I can't get it to. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah. You're saying, Algared?
I was just trying to do. I was just googling what the airfare is actually for us today.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
all right. Stream title is updated. Thank you, Kazam. Appreciate that. Right. So yeah, airfares. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Can you guys justify $5,000 for 2 days? I can't. That's a lot of money.
So what's the dates for CitizenCon?
That's a good question. Let's kick it over to the browser and we'll go look all together. Let's do that. Then. All right. Kick it over to the browser. There we go. All right. CitizenCon. Alrighty. 21st and 22nd of October, Algared. It's actually fairly late. It's fairly late in the month, actually, because it's usually the first week. So they've pushed it back by a couple of weeks. This is where I took the title of the show from, by the way. I was telling you earlier. Look, unforgettable journey beyond imagination. And I was saying to Algared, I said, I can imagine a lot. I can imagine a lot. That's exactly what I was singing myself. I was singing Pure Imagination myself. But
yes, it certainly does. I've got a golden ticket.
Yes, it does. Man,
I wonder if marketing was actually someone in marketing was thinking that as well. When they're thinking of ticket, I've got a golden ticket. So for us to get to the States, so is that return? It's 1,631 for October 20th to get there. I assume if I went for return.
As I said, it's about 2.5.
So yeah, that looks like it might be. It could be returned. I'm not sure. But it's still bloody expensive. And then you got the airport for hotels and food on top. That does end up being close to 5K.
Yeah,
To,
I think if
to
if we
go.
went Algared, we'd be going to report it for other people. I wouldn't be going for myself. I'd feel compelled to live stream it. I'd feel compelled to take questions from chat and try and get answers for people and stuff that can't get answers for themselves. It's one of the things because obviously being remote as I am, literally the next stop after me is Antarctica. I've sat and watched every CitizenCon. You know, great to be there, but I think the thing I hate about it most is that they should focus a bit more on the people that are at home, because every year that's grown and grown and grown, and it just seems this very small. Like that's always the best thing about that they finally did a digital one. I can't believe they waited for so long.
To do a full on digital.
Yeah, they should have just kept doing it like that personally, but yeah, it's as I've said for years, it's not for us, it's for the staff. You know, and I think next year we'll see that because a lot of people will drop off the live stream and go play the game. You know, and I think then that's where CIG are going to have a bit of a party.
Yeah. Negativity says I got my ticket, but I live in Santa Monica, so absolute. I agree with you. No brainer.
Cool. So we're staying at your house, right? Cool. Check. We know. No.
You know, so,
you can sleep on the couch. So I'm taking you to bed. No, just kidding.
So you know, the airfare prices are expensive, and you know, I'm glad that Diablos is going. He you know, he will have an awesome time. He's been a couple of times, I know that much.
Yeah, he has, and he works all year on his costumes. So you know,
and he works all year on
that's
his
hobby. That's his hobby.
Yeah. You know, so his costumes they are so good.
Have you seen the latest one?
I haven't seen the latest one, but
so you know the well, you'd like it because it's Hurston based. You know the Hurston security with the pipe, and like as you move around, but it's bugged in game a lot, and it like flies around everywhere. Do you know what I'm talking about? With the it's got the big kind of fold over hood.
All right. Yep.
And then it's got a pipe that comes down. Well, he's actually got the pipe working and everything. It looks freaking mad. So like, yeah, and he's got it all 3D printed. Yeah, I've seen it. It looks mad.
And if there are lights on it,
that's the one.
You can
Artimax.
almost guarantee you know, if it's got lights on it, you can almost guarantee he will have the lights in there. If it's interior lighting or lights on the visor or something, he will have them working.
Yeah. So
it's
called
detailing.
It's called Artimax, and the two people on Twitch. Thank you for telling me. Yeah, Artimax is the name of the armor. Actually, I can probably bring it up real quick. Hang on.
Yep. And yes, guys, we do have lag. We're trying to deal with it. It's frustrating as both I can tell at the moment as well.
Yeah, this one, Algared.
Yeah.
With the pipe and stuff. So yeah, just that one. I don't know what color he's going to go for, but he's got it. Apparently he's printing out the hood and everything, so that's going to look absolutely mad when it's all done.
Yep. With the hood, to me, that kind of resembles very slightly
the Jafar from Stargate.
I could see that because of the head. I was thinking Freeman. To me, it just had that kind of bit of a Freeman vibe. Just the hood seemed to make me think that.
Who's Freeman?
June.
Oh, June. The Fremen.
Yeah.
Freeman. I was like, is talking about Gordon Freeman from Half-Life? I didn't know.
No.
The Fremen. You're talking about the Fremen. Yeah.
I guess I get it. Guess I did an acorn. Sorry, not an acorn.
It's so cool. Yeah. So it'd be really cool. Yeah, I'd personally, as you said, Lord Hollington, I'd go the Hurston variant. That kind of gold color looks really kind of elegant on that. So yeah, hopefully he can pull it off. He's got time, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And hi, Sally Innes. Sally Innes Whaling. Hello from Italy. So
I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should do this, but I'm going to because she deserves it. That is my mum. Hi, Mum. Mum's in Italy at the moment, so that's.
Oh, there you go.
That's my mum. Nice to see her, Mum. Anyway, all right. So yeah, she's on a holiday in Italy, and then she's off to England, and she's going to meet up with Badgers and drop off all those 3D prints that I did.
So no naughty language anymore, guys.
Yeah, I get in trouble. Mum used to be a school teacher like you, Algared, so she'll.
Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty then. Let's. So we've done that. Let's talk about the prices then of the the bump in ship prices, huh?
Yeah, yep, because it happened on the 27th, just when we expected it would.
Or when they
I
told
don't think
us.
there was any surprises as to when they said it. They said it's going to happen on the date, and they gave us that month's notice type thing, and sure enough, the price increase happened
So
on the date they said.
what do you think about the cutter package? We haven't had a cutlass package in a long time. You know, that's something I can kind of recommend now. You know, getting behind it, other than the no LTI, but that was something that when you look at it as a, you know, it's $40 now. Well, now it's 50 because they've also put. Actually, it's actually gone up. It's 55 now. Because they put the Avenger up by 5, but they also put the Cutlass up by 10. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if like the gap is essentially widened between the Avenger and the Cutlass. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I need to think about that a little bit for a second. But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about, say? I guess the more obvious one is the Cutter to Avenger. How do you feel about that?
It certainly makes the Avenger, if you're looking for a starter pack for people and a ship that can do everything or almost everything, it does make it does give that cutter just that little bit extra edge. The Avenger is still a much better ship, but I think it's getting to that point where the cutter does get that. You do get that edge if you look, you know. Instead of now $10, what was it, $10 difference to the cutter from Avenger to cutter, wasn't it?
Originally, yeah, it was. Now it's 50.
Yep.
Now it's 15.
So now it's 15. It's pushing up to that point where we'd be saying, hey,
it's pretty equal.
You know, but
it's getting
yeah. It's a bit like the difference that we were saying between when we were looking at the Nomad, you know, $90 versus the cutter, the Cutlasses, 100. We're saying for $20 extra, you got a much better ship. For $15 edit, $15 extra, you are getting a better ship, but is it that much better when you're looking cutter versus Avenger? And yeah, I'm just not 100% certain yet. It's certainly still better than a 100i. You know, so you look at a cutter starter pack versus a 100i starter pack, $5 different.
That's kind of it. Like, I'm just looking at the numbers, and they're really kind of a lot more spread out now, aren't they? And I even see a few gaps. Like, there's a $70 gap there now, and things like that. There's a $55 gap there now. So I must wonder if they're making room for more shits too. You know,
go on. Sorry.
No. I was done.
I was just going to say, you know, you got a $45 starter pack, and the $45 starter pack is a great starter pack. It is a good starter pack. Anyone who wants to get in the game and does it and still feels unsure or is limited on cash, that is a great buy to get the game. You know, the Star Citizen download a great pack.
Yep.
But
you're lagging a little bit, Algared.
Just
so you're aware. You want to repeat that? You just lagged a little bit. It's all good. Go again. Oh, he's
for me. Those two $45 packs, they're great packs to have, but those two ships, the Aurora MR and the Mustang Alpha, because of the types of ships they are, that for me is the big selling point of Star Citizen.
Yeah,
it's for that experience. I think the Cutter and the 100i are the better starter ships around that price because they give you that ability to walk around and experience that.
Yeah. I still think if we kind of like look forward to the actual release of the game, I think eventually, now you correct me if you think I'm wrong, you and I have talked about this a couple of times, but I think you're going to log in and probably be presented with 5 ships, and they're going to go pick one, and that's the one you start with. And then off you go. Because I don't see, like you be realistic and think about it. I don't see someone, say, taking a cutter and going to an Avenger. I just see them completely leapfrogging that and going to like a Cutlass.
They will.
Yeah. So I go ahead.
Go on. I was just going to say they will because the price to buy is just so close, and you can do so much. And that's what I mean when you can do so much in the cutter versus, you know, the Avenger gives you more cargo and more weapons, but you can do so much in the cutter. You would just skip it. It's a bit like Well, when I was doing my first Zero to Hero, I
Mm,
started in an Avenger. I skipped everything up to the Cutlass
mm,
because it was, even though I liked the Avenger more,
yep.
the Cutlass just gave you so much, moved up to the next level of gameplay. Whereas, yeah, so, and I could see that even more so with a cutter. So maybe that's the type of thing that does push the cutter above the Avenger in terms of recommendations.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes and all finally lays down. I still think that we've potentially got other starters coming. I think almost like the way you and I have kind of talked about it before is it's kind of essentially a pyramid. You've got almost everything at the bottom, and as you go up, it gets more and more niche. But I would expect every major manufacturer to have a starter and a capital eventually. The capitals, I think, will come later. But I think, and capital is quite a broad term because obviously you've got everything from right now, we've got everything from a Polaris and Odyssey all the way up to a Javelin. So that is quite a broad range, but I would expect that everyone will have at least one. Or wouldn't you tell me if you think any different? Would you expect that by the end?
We've said it for years. You know, we
Mm,
expect a ship from every ship manufacturer to have a starter ship, and CIG have kind of hinted at that type of thing in the past as well. They want to have that variety of ships. They want to have ships that appeal, that have appeal to the aesthetic desires of every person. But every person can go, yeah, that's the aesthetic I like, and I can keep with that. And we already know there are people who go, when we do Fix My Fleet, there are people who go, I really love this aesthetic. And so I'm going to stick with this. I hate that aesthetic. I don't care how good that ship is. I'm not getting it.
yeah.
You know, it's so I can. You know, why would you shoot yourself in the foot if you're a business and not?
I went this because my mum's here. I'm going to bring this up. I went through this the other day with my brother, mum. He wants to buy a pair of headphones based on how they look, not on how they function, and it was driving me mental. I'm like, why would you buy a pair of headphones based on how they look? They all have ear holes and a strap. What does it matter? Like, like I just lost my mind, mum. Anyway, I'm only bringing that up because mum knows who I'm talking about, and it was just crazy. Anyway, right. I think at the end of the day, though, Algared, with these starter ships, when it gets into the
so do we.
Well, sorry, say again.
I was going to say, so do we. It's your brother.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a couple of brothers. Anyway, the particular brother, she knows who I'm talking about. Anyway, I think with these starter ships, at the end of the day, for us, it is a very different situation to what release will be because they'll, as I said, they'll log in and they'll get a pick of a bunch. I think for us, though, their price this way do kind of encourage upgrading. And really, you tell me, what is the degree of separation between two of those ships that are $5 apart? It's not a lot.
Well,
But
you look at
but if you go higher, you know, a $10 difference can be quite a big difference between two ships. You know, I think at this end, it's very low hanging fruit, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the Avenger Aurora are classics. One's got a bed and, you know, a fairly good loadout. One's got heavier weapons and is more nimble. Atlas versus 100 Eye, very similar situation.
Yeah. All right, so we're taking your guys' questions too today as well. So make sure you get some questions in. Currently, we've only got 2 questions right there, as per usual. If the questions,
very short show.
Yeah, it's a very short show. If the questions run out, the stream ends. All right, with that, then we're also going to check out ISC. We did talk about CitizenCon a bit. Is there anything else you want to add about CitizenCon specifically, Algared? Is there anything in there? We talked about the ticket prices. Talked about.
I do know that the ticket prices do have some physical goodies. And I think I would love CIG to actually offer the physical goods because they're the types of things that collectors like me like.
Yep. Agreed.
So you can only get them if you go to the show, which is really frustrating and annoying and yada yada yada. So
yeah, that's it. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Obviously there's going to be ships for sale there too. Every time there's been a CitizenCon, the ship is leaked from the brochure because they give out as soon as they give out the swag bags, people pull out the brochure and it's got the ship on it and they just take a photo and it's instantly online. So before they can even announce it at the show, yeah. Right.
And thank you for that.
We'll have a quick look. Let's have a look. So it probably is. It is out. Cool. Hold Seraphim.
Seraphim.
Oh, that's a reference to something that I don't understand, but
Well, Seraphim is an angel.
Ah, well, that explains why you know that one. And I don't. Right. Okay. Well, do you want to go straight into this then, while we wait for some more questions to come in? Because there's not a lot of questions there.
It wasn't a squadron note I heard the discussion on. I don't know where I got that idea from. It was Olisar. What's happening to Olisar?
Oh, yes. I do remember. Actually, I did remember hearing that during the week.
And we were talking about that midweek as well.
We were. Just going to change your way over Algared so you can see while we watch. All right. Here we go.
Port Olisar was first introduced alongside the persistent universe in Star Citizen Alpha 2.0, and it holds a special place in the hearts of many who remember those earliest days of Tessa Bannister, comms array missions, and of course the old...
Oh, was it? What's that line? Space bacon. No, what is it? Bacon. Space bacon.
Like
Spacing. And it's just, I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Space bacon.
Big Betty's challenge. But as Star Citizen's development continues to expand and evolve life in the PU, Port Olisar has fallen behind in its ability to support the game systems of today, later this year, and certainly beyond. But now there's a new kid on the playground looking to take its role and its job, if not its place in our hearts. And it's scheduled to arrive in the upcoming Alpha 320.
Great sadness.
Past his prologue. Yep. So, before we watch this, Algared, do you want to predict what they're going to do? Because you and I have talked about this, and I'm pretty sure you and I are on the same page here. What's going to happen here? So, do you want me to say my piece first, or do you want to go first?
No, you can say yours.
That's it.
We're pretty much close.
Distress bacon. That's what it was. Distress bacon.
Distress bacon.
Yeah, so what I'm expecting is if you go around the stat system at the moment, you can actually see other stations that have the rings from here. I'm pretty sure they're just rebuilding it with the newer tech and trying to make it as close to it as they can. So it'll still have the 3 rings. It'll probably, instead of it might have some pads. It'll more than likely have hangers now. Medical station. I think the biggest change is going to be the ASOP terminal. That whole area in the middle, like, unless they somehow copy and paste that into the new one, that's so different from any of the other stations. All the other stations have that same ASOP. So that's I think, it's going to be the biggest loss, quite honestly, unless you think any different.
I think the other thing that we're likely to see is, rather than having 4 distinct little pad sections with the same shops in each pad A, B, C, D, all of them had all of them had the weapons shop, all of them had dumpers depot, all of them had, I think they'll more or less be linked. There'll be some way to get to.
I think you're absolutely correct. I think it'll be, well, essentially it was 4 space stations in one, wasn't it? Now it's back down to 1. So it's going to have awesome improvements. It didn't have any elevators, so think about it all that way. That's essentially what Algared's saying. Like, by adding the elevator tech into Olisar, they don't need to have 4 stations anymore. They can just have 1 all in one spot. And obviously medical facilities. That's been a real big sticking point, because it was basically, Orizon is so annoying, I'll go stay at Grimhex and put up with the pirates because it's better than having to fly it from Orizon all the time. So I think a lot of people are going to start to call Olisar home again. So yeah, interesting to see. All right.
Like, I could understand why Olisar didn't really need a mid bay initially, because if you look at the law-wise, it's Orison was originally a naval shipyard.
Yep.
So Orison doesn't need to have shipyard facilities on it, because the Navy would have taken ships down to the shipyard if they needed major work. It didn't need a med bay because the major base would have had the main hospital.
I got a question for you. What type of station do you think it would be? Because it's not going to be a refinery, obviously. I think it's got to have cargo and maybe a capital docking collar.
I think it's a cargo transfer hub.
What about?
That's what it has.
Yep, definitely cargo. But I think it's also got the capital potential because it's a ship-making planet. Makes the most sense to me.
Well, we early artwork had docking ports for capital ship. We saw that in the old splash screens. To me, Olisar was always the transfer hub for the Navy. The Navy would bring crews in. The capital ship doesn't want to, for bringing crew or shift, they don't want to go down to the system. They just go to the station, drop the crew off, and then they're shuttled up and down. And vice versa, you know, they'd only take a ship down to a station if it was needing major work. So this was just a transfer hub, materials hub. That's what it was. It seems to me originally, but yeah.
I kind of hope there was a bit of like a military part to it as well, because I think having the shipping or the creation of, what do you call it, shipyards on here, I think it needs a bit of extra security. But we'll see what happens. All right, we'll see what happens. All right, we've kind of set our spiel, so let's watch and see what happens.
Pure beauty.
Yeah, it's giving me nostalgia berries. I don't know if you're getting them, but I am. This has been in game so long, guys. Like, this was the first thing. Like, for those of you that are fairly new, you would the first time we kind of walked out into space, you'd spawn an Olisar, you'd come out, and you could fly around Olisar, and that was basically it. That was the whole thing. And then it went from that to Olisar and the moons, and then warp. It just all folded out from this.
Yeah, this
particular hub is everything's come out of this one place. You got to remember, Olisar itself is fairly new. It's only a couple of years old, you know. So it's an end of an era. End of an era.
It is. Well, was Olisar the last of a planet?
It was.
You know, so ArcCorp was our first one, and I can remember that when ArcCorp was coming, you could actually fly to ArcCorp, and it was just the planet. You couldn't. That was it.
God, I don't know if I'm remembering incorrectly, Algared, but wasn't it Lawville first? Oh God, man! Now you make me question my sanity.
I think Lawville may have been first, but I can remember when ArcCorp was coming, you could fly to the planet, but that was it. That was just a planet.
Yeah.
But initially, it was just like you said, it was just Lawville. It was just this. And as the planets came, you saw that expansion. But yeah.
Do you remember the first video where they had the Idris flying over the top as well? My God, man, it's taking me back now.
I remember the video I had with the Vandal turning up and shooting it.
Oh, that one, yes. Good times. All right, let's watch this because we've talked enough.
Port Olisar was our first space station that we put into Star Citizen. It's gone through some minor changes, but for the most part, it's really stayed the same. Just a quick, easy, get in, get out space station. When it was first conceived, basically, it was really just a way for the players to spawn into the solar system.
See, all that similar style is there, but none of the other stations even have this, do they? So this is what I'm talking about. It's the interior that's going to change the most. But let's see. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what they show us.
So we had to think about how many habitation halves went in there. We had to think about the stores that were needed, and then a way for players to spawn.
That's what I'm talking about. This main room's what's going to go, I think, but we'll see.
In their ships.
The sound. My bad. Sorry. My bad. I've got to turn off the thing. Always forget. Sorry. It's the one thing in the show that I've got to turn off and on and always forget about it because it's so... Alright. I'll go back a little bit to where you started.
Space station. Port Olisar was our first space station that we put into Star Citizen. It's gone through some minor changes, but for the most part, it's really stayed the same. Just a quick, easy, get in, get out space station. When it was first conceived, basically, it was really just a way for the players to spawn into the solar system. So we had to think about how many habitation halves went in there. We had to think about the stores that were needed, and then a way for players to spawn in their ships. I think that people like it just because it's get in, get out, you know, and there's that kind of feel. There's no transit loops. There's nothing there that basically extends the timeline and the gameplay.
Yep. No frills.
And for the most part, it has all the shops the average person needs, you know, armor shop, FPS shop. There's a ship item shop there as well. I think the initial implementation of Port Olisar, you know, did everything that we needed it to do, checked all the boxes. But obviously, as the game has evolved and changed over time, like, we needed to adjust it. We've added medical gameplay, we've added cargo, and unfortunately, Port Olisar doesn't support any of those game loops, so it became apparent that we need to start investigating a way to change it or adjust it and bring it up to speed.
Capital dot and color, I called it. Anyway, let's get going.
Seraphim Station is the official name for what we've been calling Olisar 2.0 internally.
They're changing the name?
Oh, so it's what they're calling it internally.
Oh, I was going to say.
It better be only internally.
Yeah, I hope that still keep Port Olisar. That's a bit disappointing if they remove it, but we'll see.
What we initially set out to do is to create this really grand space station with a really fantastic sense of scale that players could have a really good time flying in and around and also to and from. So we had a really good time playing around with different design languages and shape languages that we could then use to come together for the final product. We were also working on lots of shape studies involving the silhouette of the station to make sure it was reminiscent of other stations and also to bring our own unique spin on it. Cargo transfer hub?
Yep.
Seraphim Station is a...
It's pretty much exactly what I expected so far, but any different to you?
We expected docking collars, we expected hangars, we expect a med bay, we expect, you know, I think the purpose of a station...
I mean externally.
It makes sense to be a transfer hub.
Look,
but yeah,
externally, yeah.
It's what we were expecting or thinking.
All right.
Yep.
Homage to Port Olisar and the way that it looks. We're keeping the rings, and but then it's also taking all of the existing Leo Station gameplay and bringing that over to that station.
It's much larger and much more extravagant than anything that we've done before in terms of our space station kit. But this is utilizing the kit in the way that we haven't before, and it's created much more unique identity for it than anything else, I think. I think the gameplay around it is going to be very cool, specifically just, you know, seeing it for the first time, approaching it. There's multiple hangars, view rooms all over the station, providing you with, you know, beautiful views of the planet at the right time of day. Extremely large station, probably
Aesop's gone.
4 to 5 times bigger than Olisar. So we have everything that you could possibly...
Sorry, Algared?
Security station as well.
Yep.
Need inside. It has various sets of hangars and habs in the center of the first 2 rings. And those are going to be where players are going to be landing their ships, collecting their ships, and the general gameplay that occurs over there. Then towards the back end of the ship, we have the cargo area, which is going to incorporate that gameplay as well. So this is how we sort of mixed and matched all of these together to create something a little bit more unique. We also have docking tubes and everything else that players could need to traverse along this big structure.
It has the medical clinic areas, it has cargo, everything there that's needed to support all of our careers that are being developed and growing.
The whole need for the station was that we're trying to have a focus on and introduce bounty gameplay into each station as much as we can. So each station also has a security dock integrated into it as well. That is going to be where all of the bounty gameplay is going to be happening, and you're going to be directed towards that. So it will be the replacement, so to speak, for Olisar. Olisar is not going anywhere. We know what a historical thing it is for the players.
We will pay proper homage to it later. And we were trying to find ways to basically send it off. Obviously, I think if we did a new space station and just renamed it Port Olisar, the old Port Olisar that they loved then just goes away completely. But basically, for right now, we need to remove it, and then we'll be putting in Seraphim Station in its place. And then in the future, we'll talk about what we're going to do with Port Olisar.
Okay.
So the way that we set up our
Sorry, Algared?
So that's crafty. Replace it. Tell us that, literally swap it out. Tell us that they're going to do something with it later. And then once the majority of people have forgotten about it, then return it as a destroyed rep to be discovered or explored. So
maybe it's a station that falls out of orbit, or there's so many things you could do with it. They could actually have it so it fell out of planetary orbit and it basically floats in between the moons, and that it just becomes space junk or something. I don't know. We'll see what they do with it. I don't think they want to destroy it, though. I don't think they want to destroy it. That's pretty obvious.
I think that originally my impression is originally they thought, yeah, we will. But when they first mentioned it, I remember there being such a backlash from the older community. Oh, you can't. They went, oh, crap, And I think there was probably people like Todd probably had that same nostalgic feel as well. But I could see one of the things I think would be really nice would be to have several of those investigative missions like at Kovalix that sent you through.
What happened to
what happened?
That's a good idea, Algared. I think that's a really, really good idea. Yeah, I like that.
Or look at the the history of Olisar. So what was Olisar originally used for? So you've got to go and dig through and find, hack into the computer and find out the earliest documents because you're trying to, find the historians or whatever. So you don't necessarily need combat missions to be interesting. Kovalix was never a combat mission, was it? But it was a very good mission.
And it still holds up today, even, and they've updated a few times, but it was still been the bar to beat. To be honest with you, I still think it's the best one in there by none. All right.
I think in terms of games, it's one of the better missions that I've come across in MMOs as well. So yeah,
very atmospheric and non-combat, which is very hard to pull off. But yeah. All right.
Radio stations, all of them are future-proofed and allow us to add new modules to them via our internal transit loop and the way that we set up the object containers within the game and load. And this is also becoming future-proof for when we add new things to the station. Port Olisar, it was so small, there was no place to add or grow, and there was no transit loops so that we can fill and block off or open new loops to get to new areas. And with Seraphim, this allows us to continue that same thought process and to get everything that we need to give to the player in that area, either things that Ryzen is missing or things that Grim Hex might be missing. This allows us to basically make sure that the player has a local area and a local space station to acquire.
No, I just realized it's probably going to get the same treatment, Grim Hex. I've just realized, down the road, are they going to make asteroid stations?
Yeah, well, I think the other thing that's really important is that Olisar was bespoke. Everything in it was bespoke.
Grim Hex is the same. That's my point.
But it limited them in terms of expansion and being able to grow that.
Well, again, if you make a similar toolkit to Grim Hex, though, and make it so that you can have some kind of rock surface texture that you can kind of essentially, grow on the outside, so to speak, you can see where I'm going. It's a space station that's just inside a rock. So why not copy that?
Yeah, well,
I think it's the next evolution, if you get what I mean. But, yeah.
Well, Todd Pappy in the past has said that planetary settlements are basically space stations on planets.
That's correct.
There's no difference.
Yep.
But I think the big and we've seen Grim Hex go for a revision, because remember the original Grim Hex, everything was pads.
Yep.
Now and then they moved to hangars as well. So whereas Olisar never got that update.
It's one of the reasons they have weird bugs with the elevators, because the elevators actually have a teleporting system where none of the elevators do. Those elevators were the first elevators in game, and they work. Notice how they don't look anything like the other elevators? That's because they're different.
Yep.
So at some point, Grimhex is going to get a rework because it's not in line with everything else anymore.
Yeah,
So,
I think they're very Levski elevator style.
Yep, and I have no doubt when we see Levski again, the elevators from Levski will have changed as well.
Yep.
And I actually think eventually we'll probably see. So you know right now how the elevators are kind of all that Art Corp original look. I actually think we'll also see double width elevators eventually that are more in line with what Grimhex has got. I think they'll add more elevators to the repertoire and have metrics for elevators. You know, so you can probably get that's the smaller size, and they'll probably have like at least one double the size, and then maybe an even bigger one that's for cargo and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know the diagonal,
really.
You know the diagonal ones that we saw in the bunkers. That's probably the biggest one. You know.
Yeah, at the moment, really, all we've got on our stations are personal elevators just for people. We don't have elevators for
vehicles,
cargo or vehicles or stuff, and eventually that.
True. All right, well, that's something else to just keep under your belt. Grimhex is probably going to get the same treatment. All right, here we go.
Acquire anything that they might need. So as new careers come online, whether that be bounty hunter or exploration or other things, this opens new ways for us to actually go in and add new decks, new content. So Seraphim actually fixes all of that. The whole sea is coming, and with the cargo decks and the gameplay that we needed to load the whole sea, we felt that this was the right time to introduce it to the game.
Is that in lower orbit?
Looks roughly the same. It's roughly the same. I'd expect to be in exactly the same position Port Olisar was in, because that's what they said. It replaces it.
Yep. It just some of those screenshots just give the impression that it's a lower orbit.
It's just hard to tell because of the lighting.
It is. It's one of those things that's always hard to tell. I know there are sometimes I've come out of Quantum at Crusader and thought, oh my God, I'm too low. Just because the certain lighting gives the impression you're a lot closer. So yeah.
Yeah, true.
I don't think you can say it's better station than Port Olisar. I think like Port Olisar has become a monument to the players, and it's got its own value. That I think we try to honor that as much as possible, and I think we try to create our own take on that as much as possible. So I like to think that we ended up saying that we were all very happy with. I wouldn't say it is better than Olisar, no.
For marketing purposes, it's better.
For marketing purposes, it's absolutely 100% 3 times better than Olisar, statistically.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that Port Olisar's days are numbered when that new hotness Seraphim Station comes online in the upcoming Alpha 320. That it'll be home to all the present-day amenities and capabilities current space stations have to offer. And of course, be better set up for future developments, cargo, bounty hunting, and all the other commercial and industrial gameplay systems that'll continue to evolve in subsequent patches later this year. We also want to give a big shout out to some massive bar citizens that have happened over the last 2 weeks, including those near each studio in Los Angeles, Austin, Montreal, Manchester, Frankfurt, as well as some absolutely enormous ones in Shanghai with roughly 1,500 people, followed by Hong Kong, and if I'm not mistaken, Incheon, South Korea coming up this Saturday, Paris the Saturday after that, and then of course, my absolute favorite each and every year, Cologne, Germany for Gamescom. It's a terrific way to celebrate a birthday, I can promise you that. And while we're talking celebrations, CitizenCon, the big live in-person event, is returning after a 4-year hiatus this year with a 2-day event in my hometown of Los Angeles. It's your chance to meet your favorite developers and fellow citizens in person and pitch which ship you think should be made next directly to John Cruz's face, or even how you think a particular gameplay system should work directly into Todd Pappy's eyes. They're not allowed to leave. They legally have to stand there and listen. General tickets are on sale today, and you can check the website for details on the when and the what for. And as for me, it's that time of year where ISC goes on hiatus. We're going to take a few weeks to recharge some batteries, give the devs a break from having to fake appendicitis every time they see me coming, and plot out the next quarter's worth of weekly content. If you've been around for a while, you know what Q3 heading into CitizenCon is like. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared.
Did he just say they're taking a break?
He did.
He did. So that means they'll have another 3 weeks off. Well, that's timely. I'll be away for a month. Thank God for that. I'll miss the whole break. Great.
Huckabee, thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here in about a month.
Oh, wow. I am not watching that. That I might watch, though.
Port Olisar, first station.
It's falling out of orbit.
Thanks for stopping by.
Now, we make no claims to know what really happened, and we certainly didn't ask anyone that could have told us. Instead, we offer one potential reality for you alone to judge. For unresolved miseries, I'm the person talking to you now.
All right. I think I'll leave it at that. All right. I'll switch you back over, Algared.
Yep. I'll pay that ending. Unsolved miseries, unsolved mysteries. What's happened to Olisar? Still think it's heresy, but hey.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think they'll kind of, because that's what people speculated on, didn't they, for a really long time, that it was going down the gaggle, but yeah.
Well, I can remember that very first snippet we had with the Vandal warping in, and you had the warning lights going, and then you just saw the Vandal shooting, and that everything went blank, and you went, crap.
All right, we've only got about 10 questions. This could be a really quick stream. I might get to bed early today. Yeah, we're only been here an hour. So, all right, Fanwell says, Hopium, after so long waiting for a solid good news, what if it actually happens? We actually get some like Pyro or Squadron 42 date. I don't think you'll get a date for Squadron 42, but I'll think they'll say it's coming next year.
Yep. And I think it is very conceivable we'll get Pyro.
Yep.
Yeah, I have.
It all comes to do with that tech, doesn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, we know. That the Avocadi have been testing at the moment. I haven't been in yet. 200-person service, so I'm not sure exactly how it's going. But I think it was Spectrum. Whether people raising the question, is it the start of server meshing, where it's basically the server's kind of transferring people backwards and forwards, and it's the first step of really doing that. I will be doing that
quite a bit there, Algared. Sorry, but you are. The other thing I'm going to talk about too, real quick, while I'm thinking of it, was there was stuff that came out of one of the bar citizens, like at Hong Kong or whatever. Negativity, thank you, thank God. I'm so happy Olisar is gone. Get rid of all the bespoke crap that doesn't support actual playing the game. Grimhex 2. I don't think it's because I don't think people are upset with the negativity because of the lack of gameplay, so to speak. I think it's because it's nostalgia berries. So I always expect them to. I think Seraphim Station does pay homage. I'd be totally fine if they just called it Port Olisar. I'd be totally cool with that, because again, as I said, I expect them to keep the rings and all that. They did. Everything they did was what I expected.
They kept the rings. They kept it horizontal rather than vertical.
Yep. I think the only thing they could, the only thing they could do is, where they had that cyclone sitting there, I would have taken the sphere, the projector with the sphere, and put it there.
Yep.
And so just move it from the ASOP into the Galleria. Would have been totally cool. That would be that would the only homage you need to pay. In my book.
And that sphere was Olisar and the moons.
Yep.
So it was actually the planetary sphere below. So plus.
But I think
the other thing was it could only.
I think Grimhex is going to get the same treatment, Algared. I think it's really obvious to me now. They're two of the most legacy systems we have left. The other one was Hurston itself, and that's gone as well. Like they've essentially updated that, and ArcCorp was if you think about it, it's an updating to all the legacy stuff. You go back and run all the legacy stuff through your head. The last two big ones are ArcCorp and Grimhex, and this.
I think Grimhex has had updates already, but stuff still exists there. I don't know.
It's had updates, but you got to remember, Algared, it's had updates over like the last 5 years. But it's got so much bespoke stuff in it that there is nowhere else.
Yeah, it's had updates, but they haven't gone through and updated everything and made everything go across to the tech. Right. And so, and that's a big thing, like being able to make sure that they can add the new tech in to a system. If you can't do that, if it's bespoke, if it's just not geared for that, you can't just add a new module on. You've got problems, and so there are, all of those old systems do need to get updated in that sense. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kovalex Station cop something similar down the track, even though it doesn't need it, because it's just an asset.
Now you bring it up, that probably is another one. Well, it's an older, more bespoke asset. I would expect them to be Kovalex to be built out of the station tech. Let me put it this way, Albert. One of my wallpapers, right, is of the original. I'll look it up real quick. Like it's absolutely. If you Google, watch this, Ruin Station Star Citizen, right? The original Ruin Station was this ring, right? It was a ring like this. Now it's this massive, huge.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can see that, Alex.
Oh, right.
By the way,
I didn't flip over. My bad. Sorry. I'll go back. This one. Right. So it was originally this. Right, is it on screen now? Yeah, it is. Right, so it was originally this, and now it's now like almost like a station that we have, more like the ones in Port Olisar. So it was this giant ring, and that is physically a lot smaller than it's going to be. So the stations are now massive mega structures by comparison to what they used to be, and so everything is just ballooned. And by the same token, I would expect not just I'd expect Grimhex to grow. Because think about how those hangars sit on the back of that asteroid. That makes no sense. It's too small. So I think Grimhex has got to change. I also think Kovalex will balloon. If you think about, and I also think the other one that we've seen it with was Korea. Korea's been completely rebuilt as well. So all those old assets are getting updates.
Korea being rebuilt made sense for what it is. I liked also, I don't know if you picked it up in the stream, but Cairo was saying that bounty gameplay will be focused on Olisar. So Olisar is going to be where that picks up from. And picked that up.
I picked that up with when they had the Cutlass Blue on screen. I'm like, oh, finally a use for the Cutlass Blue.
So, and that makes sense with Grimhex being in the neighbourhood as well. With Kovalex and it ties in with Korea being the new police station they're trying to build on, get up and running. So Olisar being, or the station there being the original kind of security hub, and then this one being.
Yeah, so this is the old work in progress for that's a single hangar. And look how big it is. It's absolutely massive compared to what it was. And then they had these newer ones. See if I can get. I'm gonna have to open this website, so it'll probably go to some random place. There it is. Can I open image? New tab. Nope, it's a tiny image. Oh well. Yeah, but the newer stuff is really big. Oh, here we go. Oh, of course, it's tiny. Can I go into that? You can let me go into that. You are. All right. So that's the new one. I think that kind of shows you that is essentially on par with all the other stations that we currently have. And it totally dwarfs what it was originally going to be.
Yep. The other reason you do need to change from bespoke stuff is that bespoke stuff is going to be more asset heavy in terms of game running because of it's old. It's chewing up resource. It's stuff that's
it's little optimizations like this, Algared, is essentially leading to what you were talking about, the 200 people servers. This is the type of things that they need to do to get those numbers up and get the things more optimized. Yeah.
Now, having said that, I've heard that it's, we're experimenting with 200 people servers. Does that mean that we're going to see that soon? No. does it mean that we will see, Avocado testing is literally testing stuff that may or may not be in game.
I would still say it's more likely sooner rather than later, but you are right. It can be retracted if it's not working. So yes.
So now I'll just let on our live stream, shared stream, all I'm seeing is the whole seek.
The what? The whole
coming out soon.
I've streamed the wrong screen. Sorry, Algared. My bad. I'll change that for you now. Yep, I clicked the wrong one. How's that?
I was watching a live stream to see the things you were talking about.
It's all good. Sorry about that. All right, so what Algared was actually talking about, I can actually open that in the browser so everyone can see. So this is something that was this came out of the bar citizens that Disco was talking about, and these are a few of the tidbits that were collected and gathered. So the whole C coming out with them is a good information of how big ships will impact the server performance in the game. So essentially that allows them to test for things like the Polaris, the Kraken, the Idris, and all that type of stuff. However, there is a statement made passing about wishing to see something big like the Pioneer come out next year, and the comment was made, you really should come to CitizenCon this year. I think you'll be happy. Now, if you were going to pick a big ship, Algared, based on going back through what you and I have seen in the last 12 months, which one would you pick?
I
know which one I'm picking, but I just want to, and you and I haven't talked about this, so I am.
The ship that the
You there, mate? Oh.
Yep.
All right, say again, what ship? Oh. Yeah, we've lost him.
I would say and lost me
No, you're back. What ship would you say, sorry?
again. Or the Pioneer.
So I heard the Pioneer. Anything else?
Capital Refinery ship.
Capital Refinery, okay. I think it could potentially be the Kraken, right? And the reason why I say it's the Kraken is we saw it in commercials earlier this year, and we've also seen in-game the model that's at the hologram viewer has updated, right? Now, it's a very low-end one, right? So it's probably one of the LOD models, but the fact that it's changed, and I'm not the only person that's noticed this, it means someone's working on it some perspective. Now, whether it's the full thing, now I don't think it is probably going to be the full thing. I'm going to take an absolute stab in the dark and think it's just the exterior, kind of like what we have for the Idris. So basically, it's what the Idris is now, but for Pyro. So if you think about it, you've got the good guy UEE Navy that turns up and you can blow up their Idris. It's the same thing, but you can attack the pirate gang and destroy their Kraken. That's what I think it'll be.
The other thing that makes that a more realistic possibility in my thought is that you don't need refinery gameplay for it.
Yep.
You don't need cargo gameplay for it. You don't need it. It's just hangar pads.
Yep. Essentially, the only thing they would need is ships that take off the Kraken and come and attack you. So it's like, so you know how they normally spawn like an Idris and they spawn several smaller ships with it? It's the same thing, except you just spawn the Kraken and then they spawn on the deck and essentially take off. So you could essentially spawn the Kraken, have it pause and not move for 5 seconds while everything takes off, and then the Kraken starts moving.
Yeah, I could see something like that, because you wouldn't need the other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that.
Don't need any of the internals. Don't need any of that stuff. So it's just the external stuff, and you update the externals and go from there.
Yep.
I think though that would also mean if I was going to that trouble, so you didn't have to do it again though, I would at least have boxed out the interior. Yep. Right. So I'd have to assume at that point they've done at least a grey boxing of the interior, which I think is possible. But I don't know. I put that to chat. If you've got any suggestions and give me a reason why, like I used my evidence there. Like I said, we've seen it in commercials. We've seen it. So you tell me a ship, like the other one could obviously be the Polaris. That could be the other one, right? Because we've seen that being worked on throughout the year. We know it's gone to white box now, so it's got final art. But you tell me, Algared, between now to CitizenCon, I don't think they can do final art in that short amount of time.
No, but So I took that question as asking, they were wishing that something new would come out, like the Pioneer, something big and new. So they want a new capital ship to be made, to be sold.
Oh, yes, okay. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that's totally true.
Right.
It could just be a
And
whole
so based on that question,
a new capital.
And I think you know, go to CitizenCon. I think you'll be happy. Then I think, okay, I could see possibly the Pioneer coming up, which would, but if it goes the way we've thought it is, it's a manufacturing plant, not just a base builder.
It does say coming out this year though, so I steer away from a concept.
Yeah, but something big. I was wishing something big.
Let me float this idea. What if it's both? What if it's a capital ship that's Polaris to whatever size up, and it goes straight to flyable?
Anything's possible.
For
something like that, I probably wouldn't hold my breath. To be honest, I probably wouldn't hold my breath for a capital ship because of the amount of work and knowing that they've had that changeover in a lot of the designers, so they're kind of retraining teams up again.
So the in Twitch, Shady Phase, that was a starter ship. Shady Phase is talking about the Argo MCV that was in the leaks. Now, whether that's real or not, much like the Saulian that was in the leaks, could all be fake, could be real, we just don't know, right? But that MCV, the way it was coded, like in the lines of code, it literally described as a starting profession ship. So where the profession's the Pioneer's the capital, this is the one right down the bottom. So it's like what the Prospector is to mining, this is to manufacturing. So the Argo MCV is the starter profession. Yep. But yeah, interesting way to look at it.
John Ski is saying Idris, since Squadron 42 is supposedly coming out next year. Well, we expect.
Do you really think that they would let us have the Idris before it's in Squadron 42? Yeah,
I think John's off his rocker at that point.
Yeah, they've made us wait this long, John. They're going to make us keep waiting. Yeah, take another sip of your copium.
That's right. You're not going to, and I'm sorry if anyone expects the Idris before Squadron 42 is launched and out. I'm sorry.
I tell you what, Algared, but I can't see them. You know, like they go, not only is Squadron 42 out, but the Idris is in game for you to play with. Bang.
now, Mr. Thor says Kingship War Bond, $29,999.
Yeah, dollars. Yeah.
Would I sell my pack for that?
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So they've been tasing an Anvil capital ship for like 5 years now. Yep, it could be an Anvil ship. I don't know. That's something I think we'll see as we move closer towards CitizenCon too. Like last year, we got hintings that it was Drake. This year well, maybe it's not this year. Maybe it's next year as RSI, because we know they're ramping up a lot of those bigger ships from RSI. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who it is this year. And it was Anvil only a couple of years ago. So I don't know, Algared, if you want to take a guess. I said RSI, but I think RSI might be next year personally.
Well, we certainly thought that the next one was RSI because of the way they were talking about working on the ships, and we expected.
Well, they said that, didn't they? John Crew, I think only a couple of weeks ago, said what we'd been saying 6 months ago. That they're going to put all those big ships together and work on them.
Yeah. And yes, John, it's not as if the Idris is a secret for Squadron 42. We've always known the Idris is in Squadron 42. Probably the last big one was the name of the Bengal, not the Bengal, the Javelin that would be on.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Monster Avery has a good one. The RSI Landminer. That's a good one. He said, no, think about it. Industry profession, Pioneer.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good one, Monster Avery.
And Pioneer was base builder, and we expect a large
land mining,
and that would also time with RSI theme. So could very well be. Could very well be.
Interesting. Wonder if would you? Okay, Algared. Straight into the game.
I can't. A large land miner. I don't see why they couldn't. Especially if they're doing a lot of RSI work.
I do, because of the gameplay associated with it. The whole underground thing would have to be put in game.
But we do have underground bases coming in.
Yeah, but the way underground tech works is all on the holograms. So it's all bespoke. It's stuff that we don't have right now, and we all know it's all hands on deck for Squadron 42. I think it would be concept at best, and it'd have to be. But
although it depends on what gameplay they've got or what this ground miner does. So if it can still mine the rocks on the ground, if it can still transport people, if it can still,
it does have rocks come out of it. They talked about that when John Crew talked about that. Yeah.
If you can mine the rocks that are on the ground rather than having to dig down. If you can, so if it can do gameplay, they may put it in like they have in the past, but they don't like putting stuff in the gameplay is not there for it. But yeah,
there is some very big speculations on our part here, by the way, because we know that underground mining is still a thing. We had to confirm that about 2 years ago now. And the Polaris does it, and you can, sorry, not the Polaris, the Pioneer, the Prospector does it, and you can actually see it in its concept. So if the Orion can't do it because it can't go down to planets, the Mole can't do it. By process of elimination, the last ship has to be able to do it, because it wouldn't be just the Prospector that can do this. It has to be something else that does it. So process of elimination, this has to be an underground miner focus ship. It just makes the most sense. Again, we could be completely wrong though, but you know, you work that through in your own head and see if you think we're correct or not. But yeah. Good evening, Ravenford.
And the fact that it's an RSI ship would tie in with the idea that it was an RSI focus. The fact they're working on RSI would mean they're getting a lot of the language down pat. So it could very well be. It ticks a lot of boxes, but it also raises a whole pile of question marks, and that's the nature of speculation at the best, I think.
So I think we can skip the middle one. That's just devs talking about their favorite manufacturer. Ship designs are going to follow old and new styles from the same manufacturer. As such, ships like the MISC Freelancer, old MISC, will likely not see an upgrade to the aesthetics of the Hull A new MISC. Yep, I've got no problem with that, but it definitely means it'll still get a rework though, because that thing is, it needs it. Same as the Tali, you know, and stuff like that.
But what it does do is it also hints that things like the Connie makes, or the Aurora, will keep the old RSI look rather than the new RSI look.
The way I look at it, Algared, is remember when they went through and they did 1,000 years of architecture?
Yep.
Same thing on ships.
Well, you'll remember, I'm sure you'll remember, you know, even Chris talking years ago about the different variants of ships and having old ships and new ships and
Constellation series, perfect example.
And he talked about the Constellation or the Auroras, you know, the 2942 and the 29, you know, and the 3000 type. There'd be different shapes, just like we see in cars, and you go down the street and you say, oh, that's a 2948, oh, that's a 2950, that's a, and you'd see the different changes in the ships. So he wants that type of thing. How much he can pull it off, well, that's a totally different story. But yeah. Zeras, you are evil.
Yep.
That's all I'll say.
It's kind of funny. He didn't make it up. John made it up. New capital ship, the Drake, stainless steel.
Yeah,
now with a bathroom. Now with a bathroom and new cost $300, it's a big bathroom.
Well, you know, that's another reason why the Cutlass is the most undraged Drake ship.
Sounds like the Cutlass Brown to me, but anyway. All right, last one on here, which is a really obvious one if you think about it. It's almost like why we haven't had HUD upgrades and things like that. A lot of the things that go in right at the end when they know how they're going to be, right? So you're not going to build AI for ships when the ships are not kind of finalized, because you'll have to change them, obviously. So AI crew blades for simple tasks like mining and salvage will not likely be in-game until they're more stable. Otherwise, the higher server loads and in-game negativity. But also from what I said, because multiple reworks. They don't want to do multiple work for themselves.
But the key thing there, the second you've got AI, the second the servers are getting overloaded or degraded over time, that's going to freeze. Gameplay stops. People already complain that the game is unplayable if the ASOP terminal glitches. God help us if we're using AI blades and our guns don't work, or our mining tools don't work, or whatever else, because the game's degraded. So some of those things make perfect sense. The interesting one for me is actually that dev's favorite designers. So Aaron Roberts loves the tally for reasons that come out in Squadrons. So clearly we know that this Retaliator now has a really key role.
I have not heard it called the Tali in a really long time. Like 5-6 years type of long time.
Certainly not from CIG, but yeah.
Yeah. But that's what it was called when it first came out, the Tali. We used to hear that all the time.
Yep.
So yeah.
Because people were lazy, but it's interesting that the only Dracophile on in the company seems to be Todd Pabb here. I find that hard to believe that he's the only one.
Maybe Algared, when one stream we should go through and Aussieify like all the names. So like instead of the Buccaneer, we'll just call it the Buck and stuff like that. So just for a laugh, we'll go through and Aussieify all the names. We'll see. All right.
So we'd have a ship that was just shit. Yeah.
Yep.
That shit.
Absolutely. All right. Kazam.
Question time.
Yeah. Now the Cutlass increase in price. You expect the Freelancer to increase to maybe at the upcoming relic? No, I think they've kind of increased it to kind of be more in line. So I actually expect with where they're roughly sitting, I think it's going to kind of go Cutlass, then the Freelancer, and then the Spirit. I think that's the kind of order they're going for, with like a $10 difference between the three. And they seem to have finally got the message about clumping ships together in the same price points doesn't work for Warbond CCUs, because they want to have as many ships out so you can buy as many, because they'll make more money. If you're going to buy more Warbond CCUs, they make more money. It's that simple. Where they were clumping them all together and doubling them all up. And we do know, we hear back for them saying, "Oh, Dyson, how you doing, buddy? Jump in, man. Dyson, drop in. If you Dyson, jump in and join us, man. Been a long time since I've seen you. Feel free to jump into we're in the channel on the Discord, man. If you want to come join us.
The voice of the boy.
Yeah, Dyson's an Inforunner from way back. If you guys have watched the channel, he's usually busy. He works in a hospital now. He's a radiologist. He takes X-rays of people.
Medicine type stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But yeah, feel free to join us if you want, Dyson. We'll get you 2 cents. Catch up with you.
Sorry if that's Actually, we'll say his name correctly. Design.
Yeah, we always Aussiefied it, didn't we? Because it I was terrible at it. That was my fault, but yeah. Yeah, so back to the question at hand. Yeah, Algared, what do you think? Cutlass, Freelancer, Spirit?
Yeah, I was just looking up the upgrades price. Just to so the Cutlass Black is now 110, and you look at the Freelancer, and the Freelancer standard Freelancer is 110. So just like you said, it pulled the base Cutlass in line with the base Freelancer, and I think that's deliberate.
Yep. Well, the Spirit's got to be more, because the Spirit's also 110. So does that put this? Okay, maybe it's not lined up like I said. Maybe they're both at 110, the Spirit's at 120 or something like that. Or maybe they chuck a $5 price increase on the Freelancer, so it's 555.
Yeah, and they may do that when the Spirit comes out. They do a they look at that type of thing. But I got the idea.
While we're on that, real quick, CitizenCon for Spirit. It's due to wrap up. It's due to wrap up next month.
If it's due to wrap up, then I could see. I can't see why not. But
E1 variant will be a bit longer, but I am talking just the cargo and the A1. So the C1 and the C1 and A1 are the two I'm talking about.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I'm usually fairly blasé when it comes to when the ships are coming out. They come out when they come out, and the longer they wait.
Kind of happens when you have all of them. You don't seem to give a shit, do you? Yes.
No.
See how it goes.
No. Yep. It's true. You don't. New ship comes out. Get it, and then you don't care. You're spoiled for choice already on what ships to fly, so you don't care. I know that sounds horrible. I'm sorry, guys, but
I'm with Shady Phase on. He says ARE for Spirit. So yeah, I think it'll be CitizenCon or ARE. I think we're definitely looking at this year though, towards the end of the year for sure. It was for the reason I say CitizenCon, Shady, though, is it was sold at CitizenCon, so it's almost like 1 year anniversary. Poof, and here it is, type of thing. So interesting to see if that's the way they go. But yeah.
No, I just did see a message on our chat which saying
Mm-hmm.
Seraphim Station seems a lot smaller than Ruin Station, and it is.
It is.
Um,
But it is
Col-
a very different station, and I
It
think
is.
it's definitely bigger than Port Olisar. One of the things
Oh,
I
hell yeah.
noticed if you looked at it, they seem to. So one of the other stations had 2 cargo bays, right, that were side by side like this, and they'd essentially just taken that and duplicated it twice, and it had 4. So it's a very big cargo station compared to some of the others.
It's a big cargo hub, which makes sense. If their Kovalik station in the region has been destroyed, you need, and it's offline.
Well,
you need
Crusader's a
station
physically
from-
bigger planet, is it not? So it needs a bigger station. It's that simple.
Well, it depends. It doesn't have. Crusader is a bigger planet, but it doesn't need
planet.
as much support
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah, it's not a surface.
it's not a surface; it's a floating platform. So
True.
you've actually got to build everything separate, where it's not going down. So it's a yes and a no. But yeah, But Ruin Station is bigger because it was Gold Horizon Station originally. Gold Horizon were a company that used to go out build stations when they were terraforming planets. So it was basically the terraforming hub where all the workers lived. It was where all the supplies went. So it was like they would, they had to be bigger. They were supporting all the terraforming equipment and everything else. So
Yeah, that guy at the end did say that it was 3 times as big. Didn't he say statistically or something like that? 3 times. So it is three times the size, or he said I can't remember exactly what words he used, but the younger guy, when he talked, he said 3 times.
He was trying to avoid saying that it was an Olisar killer.
Yeah.
Is it better than Olisar? No, because of the nostalgia berries. But is it better for gameplay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what he wanted to say. Yes, it is. It's 100% better for gameplay because it does.
I think for me, those 2 things we mentioned before for about paying homage, I think more customized ASOP areas would be great because quite honestly, they all look the same.
Yep.
Like the only difference I've seen is one with stairs in them and ones without stairs in them. And when I mean stairs, I mean do you know what I mean? Like they have like a platform or something, like different levels. That's it. They're all yellow, right? They all have those turnstile things as you go into them. And then the other thing would be that main statue in the ASOP area, if it was, So again, if they could build a room that was modular and changed in size, and you could put different things in the ASOP area, so whether it's a statue like the map of Crusader, or Levski could have the the big with the guy holding the kid, wasn't it? The guy holding the kid. The statue I'm talking about at Levski, the guy holding the kid. Or have I lost you? Yeah.
I know. That's Anthony Kanaka.
Yeah. Kind of Hurston's kind of got the M50 kind of parked there. Do you know what I mean? You've kind of got Art Corp that's kind of got the coffee guy and the kind of corridor thing going on. You've got Microtech's got the AI and the Microtech logo spinning there. So basically that same feel on the ground. But it just in that, because let's be honest, it's the main room of most of these stations, or at least room adjacent. Where it's kind of got that, you've got the window that you can look out, and it kind of says Everest Harbour or whatever. They all seem to have that same room, so it just needs a little bit less. And I'm going to argue here. You correct me if I'm wrong. I think at some point they will come back and remove a little. Like they just don't have enough.
I think part of it is that.
Hand touch.
Yeah, they need to put more of the hand touching in, and I think a lot of it is at the moment is still relying on the generation and then going in and hand touching it up.
I think that's got a lot to do with them not wanting to rework stuff, so because they know they're going to come back and update it a couple of times already, because it's still a thing in process.
I think some of those stations have been created by the random generation using the tools. I think what we've done with Seraphim Station is they've used their tools, but they've manually pieced it together rather than just going bespoke.
I think he said they added new pieces to the tool set, is what I heard him say. So it's got the smaller rings that we had seen on other stations in the system, but they also, I don't know if you noticed, there was these much bigger rings that had never appeared anywhere before. And the other thing was that cargo thing has not been seen before either. So it had the double-sided one, but it also had another one. They also had new round spherical containers that I'd seen on other places, but not in that same configuration. The actual capital docking collar was exactly the same as all the others. So it had some new pieces, some old pieces, and some reconfigured stuff. So it was a mix of everything.
But I think that to me, it seems it was less procedurally generated station.
Agreed.
Like a lot of the others. They're using the tools, but they've now, with this station, they've gone in front and said, okay, we want boom, boom, and they've actually, there's a lot more hands-on painting for this station rather than, we want this stuff in, okay, procedurally generated, okay, now we'll go in and touch it up. So I think there's a difference in the way that the stations have been made.
I think it also shows the temporariness of it. If they're going back to do Port Olisar, why would they bother going whole hog on this thing? They just want the gameplay in and that's it. And like they said, they wanted it in for the whole sea and bounty hunting, and they needed a capital docking collar on it so they could do bounty hunting.
And I think the fact that they needed this whole sea also tells you that this is also going to be where we see probably the big changes in terms of cargo refactor and other stuff. So
it's in line with what the episode Me in Space did. We actually talked about the whole sea. It specifically is for between station travel. It's not a planet lander. They said as much themselves, you know. So,
and I don't mind the idea of it is that it's a cargo transfer hub, because we've got Kovalex nearby, which has been destroyed, and so you'd expect another station to be kind of picking up picking up that slack and taking over that role, and I think
it could have been really cool if you think about it, if they had Port Olisar and Seraphim. Like, what if it's the only planet in the system, because it's so big, it's got 2 stations. So Port Olisar is more of the military type style one or something to that effect. Essentially take the capital docking collar and the cargo and split it. Right. Yeah. And you could, so you have one that's like a military one that's designed to kind of guard the shipyards, and then you have the cargo one that's designed to resupply the whole planet. And you could almost have them so they're not opposite side of the planets, but like visually within range of each other, but far enough to be interesting. Do you know what I mean? So
Yep. So there's lots of things you could always do to be different and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see where they go down the track. But anyway, we probably should answer a few more questions.
We've got about 3/4 of a page of questions, which is light for this, but if you've got more questions, chuck them in and we'll get into them.
But we've only answered 2.
Yep.
All right.
We've fluffed half the stream, hour and a half, and we've answered 2 questions. So
Jose has a question. 320 coming in Q4. No mention of 319.2. Are we in total limbo for another 6 months?
That's a real tough one, because we have not heard any mention of 2.1, so I understand where his thought process is coming from. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. But I think you would have to expect something new for CitizenCon. Traditionally, we used to get something around September, didn't we? And then we'd get another patch in November. With what we know about Squadron 42, it could be that 6-month limbo. It really, really could. I think that's one of the things that's really evident about this year is there's a lot of Squadron 42 stuff. Like, obviously, there's been a lot of Squadron 42 stuff going on the whole time, but this year it's really evident. Like look how I don't want to use the word. I'm going to use the word light. How light was the word in how light was Invictus? That's one of the most lightest. It is not the most. It is the most. Sorry.
It was the lightest Invictus we've ever had.
Yeah. No, it's the lightest sail we've ever had. Period. Yeah. And I'm just trying to word this delicately. That's why I'm struggling, because I want to say pathetic, but it's not pathetic. It's just that it shows that their mind and focus is elsewhere. I also think it really points to what I think next CitizenCon is going to be. Not this year, but next, because I the more everything I'm seeing is pointing towards next year being essentially the big one. So
yep. And I don't point to. We don't need it.
Sorry, say that again, Algared. You lagged really bad.
The question, you know, the question about if they don't feel they need a 319.2 before they go to 320, we won't get it. It's just,
Yeah.
just the way it is, you know. Like,
there's quite a few things coming in 320 though, like just bound hunting and cargo enough, you know, in the whole scene. There's some pretty big things. That's a pretty mini patch right there, and I think you'll find, you know, like think about bounty hunting. That's a whole profession. That's a whole profession we've never seen before, right? And that's quite a big profession. That is essentially combat mixed in with, you know, it's obviously got some scanning elements in it as well. You've got you know, you've got to collect and you've got to push the beds into places and stuff like that. So it's got trolley stuff in it as well. It's bringing in some tech that we have mixed with some stuff that we haven't seen before. Yeah, and then the cargo stuff as well. It's actual proper. The first time you're actually going to really be able to do proper cargo runs that aren't just delivering a box. You know, yeah, it's I don't know. It's a fairly sizable patch, really. I just and I know there'll be more than that. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, if it's just those two things that we're getting, it's a big thing.
It's a huge amount, anyway. But yeah.
All right.
Right. So, Shinobi Trip.
Yep.
Says, I have a question about C1 Spirit. Do you think
Algared, do me a favor and drop your camera.
Or are people stuck?
Algared, if you can hear me, drop your camera because I think you're lagging way too much. So we'll just drop Algared's camera because he's lagging pretty bad. And hopefully that'll give him enough bandwidth so we can at least hear him.
To that.
You just got to just close Ninja.
Yep.
And always open it up if it improves, but like if it's 7:30 and it's this bad, it's only going to get worse. So yeah. All right, try again, Algared.
Yep. Okay, Ninja has just.
Oh, I still lost you.
Zip.
All right. I'll ask the question again. So it says, Shinobi Trip, I have a question about the C1 Spirit. Do you think it is still going up in price, or are people stuck with a $10 to $0 CC from the Cutlass? No, it'll go up on release. All ships go up on release, Shinobi Trip. Right?
Yep.
How much it'll go up? It really depends. We've seen the most egregious one in the $100 price range was the $140 Vulture that went to it went up $35. Usually in that price range, they go up $10. So if they're in a $100 price, so it basically sub $100 was $5, and then they went up $10 in that price range, and then the $220, $330. So it's essentially 10%. Exception of that being the how do I put that yet?
New 235 says Cutlass Steel, a voice in the void. No, never.
A voice in the void today is Algared.
If you think that the Paul hates the Redeemer, I am that 10 times over for the Steel. It is an absolute piece of shit.
He does not like it.
It should never have been made. It's an absolute disgust.
Tell us how you really feel, Algared.
It's overpriced. It reduces the Cutlass from being a multi-purpose ship to being a one-trick pony. It is useless. It is a piece of rubbish. And if you pay that much for it, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. And I'm someone who wants every ship. I don't want that. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
Thank you, CIG. You broke my Pokemon syndrome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what it was all for, Algared. They were just trying to break you. They succeeded.
I kid you not. I found, since the Steel, I have found it a lot easier to say no to a ship if I don't want it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
because
good.
There's no need to have all the ships because the Steel, I don't want the Steel. It's rubbish.
Well,
so
they did what I couldn't. I tried to break you and I couldn't, but they did.
So thank you, CIG. Your moronic idea of having the Steel has turned people off buying ships.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, Algared has ascended. He's what's that guy in Stargate?
I'm Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel in Stargate. Daniel. Yeah, he's ascended. All right, next question. MU235 says, what do you gentlemen feel are the blockers for manual repair and refueling gameplay? Manual repair and refueling. So when you say manual, do you mean like by hand? don't we already have the repair tool in game essentially right now? And manual refueling would be a jerry can.
Yep. I'm going to say once more, Dyson, join us in chat.
Yeah, Dyson, come hop on Discord. He might be at work. Might be at work.
He might be at work. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But apparently he says I'm one with a verse now. So there you go.
All right. Algared, so what do you think is the blockers for manual repair and refueling gameplay?
I imagine having the for us to be able to actually literally repair systems. So the ability to swap out the components in our ships, we still can't do that yet.
MUT35, I can see you in chat. Can you give us the context of what you mean by manual repair? Do you mean like the Crucible and the Starfarer and stuff like that, or do you mean by hand? Because it's a little bit of an open-ended.
He does mean by hand.
Structural repair, but by hand is already in game though with the repair tool, so you can kind of do that already. So,
but it is only replacing paint. It's not the structural repair like replacing a wing.
I don't think you'll ever be able to do that. I think that is a Crucible exclusive feature, and or a ship or repair station exclusive feature, unless you think different, Algared.
Unless you're in a ship that's got, say, I could imagine you could do hand repair in, say, a Kraken using the lift to bring parts apart. You know, if you've got the machinery to haul those big parts, and then you're kind of holding it in place and bolting it. But
oh, I just had an idea, Algared, that you gave me. Do you reckon you could manufacture a wing and then have it attached manually?
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't do that. If you could manufacture the part or reconstruct the part, if you've got bits and pieces, using the machine to print up the bits you're missing, and then have a crane carry it across, or you'd need it. I don't think one person could do the move a ship across, move a wing across with a tractor beam and then join it. I think that's where I don't think the manual repair works. I think you'd need some form of automation to hold or move a piece and hold it, and then do that.
It's interesting. Yeah, you really got me thinking there.
Nemex says, "Do I have a Rock DS?" Yes, I do.
He's got
the only ship I don't have is the Steel.
Yeah, and I think it's almost
so in
on
other
moral.
packs of the DS.
It's on a moral ground, really, for you, isn't it? That one.
Oh, it's the price, but it's also like what you look at. What even the blue, it's got cargo, it's got cells, it's got multi-crew gameplay, it's got it's got everything. You can still do everything. What does the Steel have? It's got no cargo. It's got no living space. It's just got troop seats, and that's it. If you're looking at the gameplay, it's a troop carrier. That's it. One trick pony. Overgunned ship, because we know Drake always overgunned their ships. So they took a ship that was already overgunned for its size and overgunned it even more.
I've triggered him. He's been triggered.
It's an ironic, stupid, idiotic idea. I'm sorry. You have. You've triggered me.
It's another classic Algared rant. Yes, I know. I've got to be careful. I'll break him.
Okay, I'm calm now.
Now. He's vented. He's vented.
I've vented now.
One Star Citizen says.
Fault,
One Star Citizen says. Question: if I buy a CCU to the Endeavour, am I locking in the price for myself in case it goes up in the future? And if not, is there a way to lock in the price besides buying it straight out? Yes, you are. You are locking in the cheaper price. And that's why we recommend getting something like, say, the Gemini to the Endeavour for $10. If you need one, Algared and I have a bunch of them. We can sell at cost. You've got to pay an extra.
I actually don't have any because I've got rid of all mine.
I've got a few left in buyback. So if you need one, come and see me. They cost you an extra $1 because of the Australian tax.
Yep.
But yeah, if you're happy to pay an extra $1, you can have it at cost.
But IAE, you should be able to pick them up again.
Yeah.
Assuming it doesn't go up this time. And we've been expecting. In fairness, we have been expecting the Endeavour to go up every year. For probably 5 years, every year, because it's just such a big ship, such a immense ship. We've been expecting a price increase because it's still at its original concept price for the base Endeavour. So if you buy a CC upgrade to the base Endeavour, you are locking in that $350 price or whatever price it currently is, and that's for every ship, whatever when you do a CC upgrade. So he's trying to kill himself.
No, there's a hair on my hat. Can't you see it? Can't normally see this.
I can.
Drive me nuts. I can't. This
Take
is
your
why I
hat off and
don't
do it. Otherwise, you're like poking an eye out.
Yeah, it'll drive me that
Yep.
shit. That's all right. I'll get it later. No,
That's
it's
what
gonna
happens
drive
when
me
you go big screen.
crazy. Ah!
That's what happens when you go big screen. See?
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
scaring
I'll go back
people
to.
with big
I'm scared of myself. I think I'll go back. Oh, there we go.
That's right. Man, I can't cope with that when I'm doing stuff. If we're doing videos at school and I've got to do stuff on, it's freaky.
Well, now I can't see it, so it's fine. So I can put up.
Yeah,
with
that's
it.
right. See?
Yeah.
See?
All right.
All right, that one's done. John Cheeves says, "What ships do you think will become metal or fall off the physicalized with the meta or fall off with physicalized damage?" What ships do you think will become meta?
It's really hard. That's really hard to quantify because I don't think they'll fall off. I think it will bring other ships up to be on par.
Yeah.
So the really obvious example is the Hornet. Yeah, the Super Hornet. That's going to come up.
Yeah. And years ago that used to be the meta ship, and I can remember way back when we first started, when Arena Command was the only thing you could play. The Hornet was the absolute bee's knees.
Yep.
And yet, I can remember going into Arena Commander and seeing people in the Hornet absolutely get smashed and owned by an Aurora pilot.
Well, if you think about it, I would expect it to be something. No, that's not a good example. Trying to be an example, but there isn't one because both those examples are heavy fighters. So if you think of what the Hurricane and the Scorpius is, right? The Super Hornet is akin to that, but in the medium fighter class. So there is no two-seater ship that kind of goes toe-to-toe with the Super Hornet in the medium class, right? Because the only other ships around that price range that I really lean towards would be the Sabre. Sabre doesn't have two seats, right? The Super Hornet is something very unique in its size class of the medium fighter. The only other medium fighter that is coming that I think will probably go toe-to-toe with it, and you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Algared, would be the Santucci Eye.
Yep. I depending on the role you use, I think you could see the Gladiator doing a similar role, but you've got to use your missiles to take it out, not your guns. And that's a two-person ship. But those two, the Gladiator and the Hornet, they are complementary ships.
They need upgun the turret on the Gladiator, though. That thing is a peach. It's the same problem with the Vanguard's turret. They're only size 2s. They're just so tiny they don't do anything.
And you've got your other guns or things that the pilot's got. And with the Gladiator, you've got the problem where if you don't have a turret gun, those guns are no longer usable to you. So
they're essentially those size 2 guns are essentially feather swords, if you know the Australian reference. So it's like bringing a feather to a gunfight. It just completely waste of time. So yeah.
Be careful though. Captain Feathersword will tickle you.
Yes. Yeah. Look up the Wiggles for people that are not aware of what we're talking about. There's a pirate in that. He is a kid's pirate, and instead of having the sword, he's just got it's like a sword where the blade would be. It's a feather. He does this. Anyway. All right. Next question.
Northend Trooper.
Yeah, go for it. You go.
So he says, do we know how many tickets will be sold for General and VIP for CitizenCon?
No, they didn't say.
No.
So,
as many as they need.
Yeah.
As many as the centre can hold, I imagine, is what they will try and sell.
I wouldn't be surprised if they almost book it based on how many they sell. They can scale the like it's quite a big venue from what I've been told. So there was probably a limited number of the premium tickets because that's how many they can fit inside CIG's offices. So 100, 200, I don't know, right? And yeah, go from there.
Yep.
I'd also, if I was going to LA, I'd probably try and get a tour through Riot if you're a fan of League of Legends, because apparently that's right next to CIG. They're literally like right up against each other type of thing. So yeah. So yeah, if you're a fan of League, you're in the area, so you can get a tour there as well. Why not? Two birds, one stone. I don't know. What else is something to see in LA, Algared? If we were to go, what else would you and I want to do? I haven't been before, so is there anything in LA that you'd want to go see?
Well, there's always NFL.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Yeah.
There's always baseball.
I think the food I'd want to try too, because they're, I've heard lots of things about how big the food is. Like you and I get a milkshake, right? This is just water, but that's a very large drink here in Australia. I've seen, like, they're literally like a KFC bucket type of thing for supersized drinks and crazy things.
I have been to the States a few times. To San Diego. I have seen numerous NFL games. I do like the NFL. And one of the things, family and friends used to say is Americans don't have fresh fruit. And I laughed at them. I said, rubbish.
The Endeavour Shuttle. Really, Northrend? That's in LA, is it? Oh, I wouldn't mind seeing that. That'd be in like the Flight Museum or something, I assume. Yeah, okay. Universal Studios with Jaws. Yep. I remember seeing footage of my mum went on a trip when I was really little. I was only like 5 or so, and she showed me the Universal tour with the shark coming out, and I always wanted to go there. So that is something on my bucket list. So yeah.
I haven't spent too much time in LA. I've spent more time in San Diego and San Francisco when I've been, and Texas and Austin and San Antonio. LA was. It was just an airport, generally. So yeah, but there's always the studios. There's always the. I suppose you'd go to the pier, because hey, why not? But my impression of America, and certainly the West Coast, was it was very Australian.
Yeah.
And that was because of all the eucalypts. That's one thing that will get you. There's
really
eucalypt trees. They're an invasive species.
Yeah, us Aussies just sneaking in there everywhere we can.
No, they actually introduced them deliberately.
Yeah, I know they did.
So when they were doing the Trans-American Railway, they brought them in because that was a fast-growing trend. They thought, awesome, we'll build our rail lines out of eucalypt trees.
But it also, I thought they brought them in for fire resistance as well. Wasn't that something they did?
No, they brought them in. They brought them in the West Coast. They brought them in because they were fast-growing trees, so they could use them to get the sleepers for the rail line as they were going across, because they were doing the official. I think the official mountain range is like 20 kilometers closer than it actually is, because they got paid more money if they were building a rail line in mountain ranges. So they were doing naughty things to kind of cheat the system so they could actually fund stuff earlier on. But they used eucalypt trees and then realised, oh crap, these things burn. So yeah. But they're all over the place. And I was at Seaport Village in San Diego, and I was talking to some of the staff, and I said, I'd really like to go to Australia, but I don't, and I said, this place just is like Australia. And I said, what do you mean? I said, well, the trees. And I said, what trees? And I said, that bottle brush out the front there, that Banksia out the front there, that's an Australian native. Yeah, so the Banksias and eucalypts all over the place. What you miss are the lorikeets, the magpies,
just the wildlife,
and the sound of the Australian birds.
Explains why a lot of people I've talked to, probably Australians I've met that have gone there, that have actually liked LA because of that reason. So yeah,
it was it made sense. I always wondered why you played video games and you go through an area where it's a rundown area where the weeds and everything is taken over, and you have eucalypts and gums, and it made sense after going to the States, because the gums and eucalypts, the invasive species, were everywhere. And so if you're after trying to get the idea of an invasive species in an area, or an area that's run down or not nice, you chuck eucalypts everywhere, because for Americans, certainly for Californians, that is the case. They're a horrible thing that you've got, so yeah. Whereas I was there, and it helped make me feel home. at home.
Hmm.
So yeah, it definitely I could see that being the case. Tom Van Duren, 249 euro. Thank you for that. He says, "Is there a CCU for a Carrick?" Thanks all. Not at the moment. At IAE, I expect there will be.
Yeah. There is not at the moment, but there has always been at every sale. So you've just missed a sale, so you'll essentially have to wait until the next one.
Yep.
Which is the easiest way to put this. Okay, I'm trying to do something different here, and I'm trying to do it live because I'm trying to fill the screen because at the moment it's just my fat head.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Are you trying to put it so the questions turn up on the screen?
Yeah.
Ooh, fancy dancy.
Because we don't have a way to do it for. I'm gonna absolutely do this by hand for every single question, but it's not centering how it should be, which is annoying. So I'm going to have to. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that answers question, but
Yeah. So Shinobi Trip has a question.
Yep.
Which is, dumb idea with the release of the SRV, the Ninetales can bring a fleet of SRV and drag Port Olisar off the Grim Hex. Greatest heist of all time. I imagine there'd be a problem. There's certain things you can't do, and moving a station is probably one of them. The laws of physics just don't work all the time.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
But yes, it would be the greatest heist of all time, but then you've got the problem of, breaking down, or
I think
I'd rather.
I'm be really surprised if we don't see the SRV come in with tractor beams, but maybe they wanted to get normal tractor beams in first, but we'll see.
Yep.
All right, so Northrend Trooper asks his question on screen, says, what did Jared mean with ISC leading up to CitizenCon? Well, every CitizenCon, they pull back on a lot of stuff because they want to share it at CitizenCon, so it becomes a very dry period, to say the least. Yeah, and it just very slow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, Algared?
Yeah. Yep. Usually it's a slow period. People put I do think a lot of content creators used to almost shut down
Yep.
just find things which is dead. Whereas I know early on it never bothered us. It still doesn't bother us really. We just whatever. We just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I know a lot of people do find that hard. So.
Yeah. All right, I'm just putting the next question on screen, but you guys can't see it, so it's going to be a bit invisible for a second, just while I get that. Learning how to do this all at once. All right, here we go. So Monster Avery asks, question, referencing the same bar citizen, do you think we'll get a larger ship concept? So he's talking about the Pioneer thing that we were talking about.
Yep. And that was a Hong Kong bar citizen, I do believe.
Possibly at CitizenCon, something perhaps like the Argo leaks from... Yeah, so... actually think, because you kind of updated it after this, I actually think you're more likely to get the landminer. I think you answered your own question, Monster Avery. Thanks for the answer in advance. I appreciate it. It was good of you to give us the answer. Appreciate it.
We did appreciate that. Although if you do that, then we don't have a show. But thank you.
Yeah. It's still funny as answers his own question. I love it.
I'll read Tactical Beard's question while you're getting up on the screen.
Yeah, please.
So Tactical Beard has a question for us. They say, lore-wise, what star system in the PU could you see Vanduul as an enemy we can fight instead of just human gangs? Is it possible we will ever see them in Pyro, Nyx, or Stanton after Squadron 42 adds them?
No. Not unless they really push into our space quite considerably. And I don't know, Algared, you tell me. They did have the Vanduul in as a secret thing way back when, one of the Tessa Banner submissions, but that was just because they had it, so they just put it in temporarily, but yeah.
So they did have Tessa Bannister missions kind of climax with a Vanduul raiding, scout raiding party coming in.
Yep.
I think you'd have to go to the star map. I do know they've always talked about Earth being raided by the Vandal at some point, and I think I can see them wanting to do that because it means they can have everything destroyed, even the flooding and the ice caps melting, and a Vandal raid totally destroys everything. So you don't have to worry about paying homage to making sure the Sydney Harbour Bridge or the Opera House or the Empire State Building or the Kremlin or Big Ben or any of those iconic buildings in our world are still there. You can destroy them. You can totally wreck them. Like one of the big issues I felt that Guild Wars 2 had was when they went to their new system. You'd go to areas and the terrain was actually literally taken their old maps, but it was repainted. So you don't have to worry about that if you've got a blank canvas, and if they don't destroy Earth and have it totally raided and blown up by Vandal or some other force, you've got to fit those things in, and that's just work. That's just heartache and pain, and
essentially allows them to recreate Earth in their own image, so to speak. They can make it however they want. They can just
give them a free hand.
Yeah,
and that's what you want.
They can keep a couple of cities in, and maybe so let's just you take any city you take, it doesn't matter which one you take, right? There are core key things that people that live there will go, that is a landmark, like the Statue of Liberty, like the Sydney Opera House, like the Eiffel Tower, right? They're probably the things that'll make it in, but you don't want to be able to go there and walk up to your house, because then they've got to. It's too much work. So everything Algared's saying makes so much sense. It's a law reason to not do that. Yeah.
What's that arch in one of the American cities that you often see in
the Seattle thing?
The Seattle arch. You see that. You see that in a lot of movies where the city's been totally ripped, but you've got the arch there. So you go,
you'll even see it where a chunk of it's been taken out or something like that. Yeah.
And you go, that's clearly Seattle. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It'll be that type of thing. You might see a wrecked Eiffel Tower and you go, oh, that's Paris. Yeah. That type of thing. So, but yeah. But will we see them? I was going to have a look at the star map and see which systems are close to random systems or which systems
what are you
possibly have an unknown.
Sorry, Lord Hollington. I got to interrupt. Lord Hollington's saying Australia is missing any human life, and there is just emus now. No, we're the ones that would survive because of all the deadly animals. Vandal are nothing compared to the snakes and spiders, mate. Nothing.
But he is referring to the 2 emu wars, which we have lost.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it ended up being a truce. We just let them.
Did you see the footage that was on the news during the week of the guy fighting the kangaroo?
No, I didn't.
And he won. It was brilliant. He comes around the corner and this kangaroo's coming after him. And he literally, the kangaroo starts like boxing him, as they do. And he literally just like, I think it was would have been a left hook. Yeah, he hooked it and it knocked it off its feet and went side on. And then he jumped on top of it.
Yeah.
And then the kangaroo jumped off and ran off. That's so good. Anyway.
Yeah. The worst thing about kangaroos is not necessarily them punching with their forepaws, but
the claws. Yeah.
The claws on their hind legs is the ones that are deadly.
He was doing that at the guy, and the guy's like, "No, I'm not having any of that." And
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
So I could see them having Vandals somewhere, but I'm not sure we'd get them in.
Yeah, not STEM.
They could put them in temporarily, like they did with Levski.
In the future, if there's some kind of massive event where they push right in, absolutely, right? It's going to be up to us to push them back and things like that. So yeah, we'll see.
As I can still remember, 2014, Aaron saying, if Vandal move into a system and we don't do anything, eventually it'll flip to a Vandal system, and that just means they're close to the next system.
I think we can say never, but highly unlikely.
Yep.
That'd cover it. All right, next question. Here we go. So we've got John Flick C4 says, big nothing sandwiches lately. Do you guys have any thoughts on why they avoid talking about cargo or anything that really relevant? Because they're working at Squadron 42. I know it sounds like a repetitive, broken record, but everything that we've seen this year, monthly reports, the things they're talking about, all the levels at the end of last year, all the chapters of the levels rounding up, everything, like how weak of a turnout Invictus was, like they deliberately, like, why would they sabotage their own funding? Because they're working on something bigger, which is what Squadron 42 is, and it's all pointing towards that really heavily.
But if we're talking the ISC not having big things and and avoiding talking about cargo and anything, Seraphim Station is there to support the Hull Sea. It is there to support bounty hunting.
True.
That is talking about cargo and gameplay.
Yep.
So I don't think that the criticism is that justified. Are the shows as detailed as we'd like? Probably not. Do they have as much detail as we'd like? Probably not. But we know they did an expose on the Hull Sea recently, talking about the cargo. We know that this is a station that is being put in so it can support the Hull Sea. That is talking cargo factor and other aspects, you know. So I wouldn't say we haven't heard anything big. It's just maybe not as much as you'd like.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Next question is from Namek, who says, "Do you think they will make ArcCorp into the planet it is in lore, with the oceans and mountain ranges, or will they stay more or less just as a metal sphere?" Well, that's what they're going to do. They are going to. They've talked about going back and putting the lakes and that in at a later date, haven't they, Algared?
Yep. And but in, you know, I think we were talking about this midweek, that ArcCorp is their Coruscant / Blade Runner.
It is a very different beast. Like, they will take that city tech, right, and they will use that city tech in other places. But I don't think, you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Algared, there might be one or two Sol or maybe possibly Terra, and then maybe one in the Banu area and one in the Zion area. But I don't think there'll be many city-esque, as in the entire planet is a city. I think that is a rarity. Maybe 5 planets total that'll do that. All right. Now I stole this next question directly from. So he's jumped the queue, but that's because that's my prerogative. So this one here is from Twitch, and I just thought it was a cool question. So Priesel says, BMM looks cool, but if I have a Kraken buyback available for privateer kit, would it be better to grab a Nautilus or Polaris instead? I'll let you take that one, Algared.
BMM looks cool, but if I have a Kraken buyback available for a privateer kit.
So essentially saying, rather than double up on having a Kraken and so 2 shop ships is what he's saying. The hard part for me, Algared, and I think you're at the same place, is the Nautilus or the Polaris, because I go back, it's a fix my feet question. What do you want to do in game?
And both of those ships, I have a different focus.
Yeah, and that's so yes to the first part.
Yeah,
makes sense. No double up. But the second part's the hard one, and I personally would lean to the Polaris, but I can also look at the Nautilus. I own a Polaris and a Nautilus. Do you want to do the more defensive or offensive?
Yep, and for me the answer is yes, because you've got the Kraken privateer and kit in buyback, so you don't need to worry about
Nautilus.
Whether you got it, you pick it up later.
Nautilus is rarer, though. I will give you that. There's a lot more people with the Polaris than there is with the Nautilus, and the Nautilus should not be overlooked. It is often overlooked. The only real thing is, for the price, the Polaris is the better buy, because essentially a Nautilus, a Hammerhead, and a Perseus are that same class of ship. Polaris is the one above, but it's only $25 more. You're getting twice as much ship for $25. So. On value, I think if we answer this on value, Algared, because we don't know the gameplay, I'll go Polaris, and I think you'd agree with me on that, would you not?
Yeah. Well, we've said it for ages. Well, in the same argument with the Perseus to Polaris.
Yep.
Is the Perseus a good ship? we expect it will be. Is it good value for money? No, because it's $25 more. You get a Polaris, which apparently has lots more gameplay. Perseus, not Perseus, Nautilus is the same, in that same category. So, yeah, you go, well, what I want to know, small ship or large ship for a small amount extra, go for larger ship because got the more gameplay. So, yeah.
All right. Daniel says, your best guess, do you think Squadron 42 will release in the next 5 to 7 years? Heard about polishing. I think it'll be next year, mate.
Yeah, I think absolute outside most would be end of next year.
We definitely have to make an Inforunners red shirt. I don't know how, but that'll definitely be a thing. That's something else. We have had a lot of things taking a long time working in the background, but we are rounding the corner. It looks like we might be ready to start rolling merch out.
Yeah. But we do need a
soon.
Red shirts for my Javelin. That's right.
All right, Algared, what Admiral Algared's red shirts or something like that, or
Admiral Al's red shirts.
Yeah,
right.
something like that. Yeah. And I'll execute something. I don't know. We'll come up with something. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Oh, executes cultists or something like that. They're wearing dippers.
Executes headhunters.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll come up with something. All right. I'm gonna do the next question real quick.
Monster AV.
All right, you read that one and I'll do the one after that.
Yep. So Monster AV says, with the talk of 200-player servers, do you think they will start looking at caps and ships like the Polaris to get more serious work? With the talk of 200-player servers, do I think they will start looking at caps and ships like the Polaris getting more serious work that they are anticipating on them or no relation?
I think that whole C comment from the bar citizen kind of tips to that as well, that they are looking into larger ships as server mission coming online. They'd have to be. Yeah, and
to get those larger ships in, and they need server missions. So they I think that's why they're pushing. Why I think that we'll see that the Avocado patch is looking at that, and
I think
I haven't been in the Avocado patch yet, so anything I say is totally.
Yeah, that's cool. But to add to that,
no, nothing on it. So.
To add that though, removing a Port Olisar, updating older assets to newer stuff is lowering the requirement so they can put that number up. That's why I know Grimhex is coming. It has to be coming because it's such a popular area and it lags like crazy and it's got all those old elevators and all that shit. And you go through and you look at all the other stuff that is still in game that is legacy that makes it slow it down. And it's one of the it's like closest to that and Kovalix are the last two things I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be on the cards. Sooner rather than later.
Certainly doing looking at the things to reduce the load on the game. And if you've got old assets and old tech and old code, you're putting more stress on the game.
Absolutely.
And so the more you transfer it across to the newer code and newer tech and that, it makes it smoother and that frees up more assets. So yeah, I don't think it's that big a thought process really, but yeah.
All right. Zarek says, what are the chances that we will get a good news about the economy? And that was meant to have a question mark on the end, but I deleted it. My bad. I think it's highly likely because of the whole sea stuff coming in, don't you, Algared? I'm expecting missions to go along with that.
I would expect missions to go along with that. I expect them to be different from the just buy everything you need and go. It'll be, take this load of...
I think it's going to be more station focused because, how do I put this? I think it's going to be almost like routes. I think they'll go, we want you to go to this station. It'll be almost like a zigzag across the system. It won't be just go from, so we want you to go here, collect this, deliver it to here, here, and here. Or they might give you 10 different places you've got to go, and you've got to go the most optimized route.
I think
you've got to try and do the whole thing in 15, as an example, the whole thing in 15 minutes.
I think you may get runs like that, but I think you'll also get basically box missions upgraded to station missions.
Yeah.
So at the moment, you go to a box mission, you do a Red Win, there's 5 boxes, pick up these 5 boxes, take them to these locations. That's no different from what you were just saying.
Yep.
Pick up this cargo, take it to these locations.
Yep.
It's just, instead of a box you're carrying, it's going to be 32 or 64 SCU cargo containers that are being loaded on your ship, and you'll just take it from station to station. I can see that easily. Like that's. But will they have other stuff? Who knows?
All right, Zarek did a second question. Do you think that we will let us know about when server meshing will be implemented? No, they just gonna never tell us about it and slip it in, and we'll never notice. Zarek, that has to be the most silliest question I think we see a lot of silly questions, but that is a silly question. Seriously, do you think that will let us know about server meshing will be implemented? Of course they will.
So I think the big question is, when will we see numbers of players and
that's more like it.
And they'll say, oh, yes, it's coming, but then we'll see the numbers that are being able to play, and I imagine depending on how, and I have not tried Evocati patch yet. I haven't even read the Evocati comments from Evocati. I've just read seen things from Spectrum about it. So at the moment, when I talk about this patch, I'm not talking about anything that I've experienced, seen, or heard from the patch, from inside the patch. I'm speculating. 200 people servers seems to me to imply that they are experimenting with server meshing. That's what it seems to me. I could be wrong. They could be actually just trying to get servers to be able to take 200 people without server meshing. Cannot tell you. Haven't tried it, and even if I had tried it,
you wouldn't be able to talk about it.
I still couldn't. In fact, I'd probably be less willing to talk about it.
Yep.
So,
definitely. All right. Midgard says, okay, Algared, without going into details, obviously, can the live servers right now do 200 people on a server? Wink once for yes or twice for no. So wink away, Algared. Tell us.
Okay, I've winked.
What? I can't believe it. Can't believe you said that, Algared. That's amazing.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
I can see it. You guys can't, but yeah, that sucks to be you, I guess. You right there, mate? All right. I'll go on to the next one.
All right, I'm back now.
You sound off, dude. All right. Just lining up the next question real quick. I'm gonna just so you guys know, I'm doing every one of these by hand. Anyway, Daniel says the ship manufacturer Esperia, Crusader, Anvil, Apollo, Argo, and Vandal don't have a capital ships for sale. Do you think we'll see one for each of these ship manufacturers? Well, Vandal, we know they've got them. Apollo is Zion. We know that Zion have got capital ships coming. So let's just take the alien ones out. So yes, eventually, right? Asperia, no, because they are reproduction people. If they do an Asperia one, it would probably be Tavara and Algared, would it not? So potentially, I'll retract what I just said.
I could see an Asperia capital ship being a reproduction of a Tavaran ship.
Yep. That leaves Crusader, Anvil, and Argo. Absolutely. What they are and when, your guess is as good as mine.
Yep.
The only one I know is the Jupiter, and I think the Jupiter was an idea by the writers that I think is kind of being taken a little bit by the Kraken, unless you think different, Algared. I'd be more likely to see something different.
I would say that's pretty much it. We know Crusader originally had a carrier in law that they used to transport, ship transport, basically, to transport lots of shuttles to the market. But that's
and as Algared like to say, is they bastardized Crusader, so now they make guns and stuff. There's no reason we can't have a large capital ship from Crusader that fires guns. So fires guns, has guns, fires guns. No, it fires Merlins.
Yep. Shoots Merlins.
Yeah. But you get what I'm trying to say. So because they've kind of changed their stance on Crusader, Crusader doesn't just have to be an industrial transporter type thing anymore. Anvil obviously being military, you can see where that goes really quickly. Argo is the difficult one. I wore actually Capital Refiner, Capital the Nebula, the gas miner, the gas sucker upper.
Yep. I do. Yep, the gas miner.
Say that.
Yep.
Say that 5 times fast.
Expat, if you were watching.
Say that. Say
Expat,
that.
if you are watching our stream, reach out to Echo. Regarding Scarlet Apex, we'd love to know your answer.
Yeah.
So if you're watching Expat, please reach out to Echo and let us know, because we'd love to know regarding Scarlet Apex.
I can go. I'll go talk to her on your behalf if you want. But yeah.
So.
Well. Say that 5 times fast though.
But...
The gas sucker opera. It does not roll off the tongue. All right. Grabbing the next one real quick. Oh come on, come here.
So that's one we've done.
Hang on, I'll add this one. It's a short one. Got it, and reveal. All right, here we go. So this is by Rail, who says, "Don't you think it will be a large construction ship? The Pioneer is capital-sized." So that's out of context. He's talking about when we were talking about stuff back there before.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not a. Why would they make a second construction ship that's capital-sized? That's a double up. They've literally said that they look at all the other capital ships. There will not be another capital ship. Like it's like saying there's going to be a second reclaimer. Now, eventually, there might be a direct competitor, and the only ones they talked about was like the Prospector. If you think about the time investment to make a really large capital ship, I would be very surprised if we ever see a direct competitor to the reclaimer, as an example, or an Orion, to keep it in the mining vein, or in this case,
I think his comment does have merit in terms of, well, don't you think it could be a large construction ship? Yes, it could be. We know that, but one of the things we know with Pioneer is it seems to have disappeared off the roadmap.
No,
I don't really understand.
I know what you mean. So you mean a large instead of a capital? I read that wrong. Yes. Okay. Now I'm with you.
And I think I could see that because we don't actually know what the Pioneer is going to be. We know it was builder. We know it's still going to have that, but it seems, from what we seem to have picked up, that it seems to have gone more to. They seem to be looking at whether it's going to be a manufacturing plant, and I think that might be why you can't. It's very rarely sold anymore. You don't see it.
Absolutely agree with you on that. With the limitedness of and not being able to CC to it, where it's the only ship that breaks the not able to CCU thing. I think they, as you said, don't. And I've said it before. I've said exactly what you said before. That they don't. It was base construction. It's moved to manufacturing. Until they kind of come back around and work on it, they're not going to really open up the sale of it or CC into it.
And I think they're not sure whereabouts they want to take it. Like whereabouts in base building it is. Is it just manufacturing a set standard? Is it because we've got different styles of building now? Can it do the different styles of build? Even if it's just printing the building, is it doing that, or is there something else? How's it working? I don't think they've worked that out, and so because they don't know how they want it to work or what it can do or what style it's doing, they've just went, no, we'll put it. It's the too hard basket at the moment, and it's also a massive big ship without lots of asset type stuff for it, which means it's going to be one of the last ships they do. Like at the moment, if you were looking at 2 capital ships to build, Pioneer or Endeavour, which one has the most assets already done for it? You'd go Endeavour's got more assets because it's a miss ship.
Then,
not all.
Yeah, you wouldn't see. Well, looking at what they've done with other ships, they tend to build ones in the middle and go up and down, don't they? So the example originally when they did the whole series, they did the whole C first, and then they were going to go. Then they were going to go the A and the E, and then come back and do the gap in the middle. Remember that was the original plan. And then the C got put on the shelf. They went and did the A, and then they went, "Oh, the E's too big. We kind of." Yeah. So eventually they, I think now they'll go C, E, and then they'll come back and fill in the gap.
And I think part of the thing with the whole series is they did do a C, But then they had that issue with the concertinaing and the physics grid and all the rest of it. And
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
went, okay, we'll do the A and B because they don't need to have that.
Haven't done the B yet. Better get what you mean. Yep.
But, so they became the two ships that they'd be able to focus on rather than the C, D, and E. So, but your work on building up your assets and the tools you need and the look. And MISC have a whole pile of that asset. So if I was looking at two ships they were going to do, if I had to say which one are they going to do, Endeavour or they're going to do one of these, Endeavour or Pioneer, which one are they going to do? Just based on the stuff they've got in the library, you'd say, oh, the Endeavour makes more sense because the Pioneer has nothing in terms of the library. It's got 3 ships, Mustang, Nomad, and...
That said, though, both of them...
they're both horrible.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. I still put the Pioneer in front of it. There is so much gameplay tied up with that Endeavour. It'll be the last ship they ever do.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just saying, in terms of, if you were looking at it in terms of the assets they've got made, which one would you say?
Yeah.
And that, I'm just saying, the Pioneer's way down the road.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
miles away.
Next question.
So, anyway,
Xeris again. So third question. Do you think they will update the Connie to look like the Galaxy? I would love them to make it look like that ship. Any chance of it happening? Well, I think that kind of got answered a little bit for you today, where they were talking about different ships from different time periods. So I think the Connie is one of the Connie, and we even Algared and I even gave that example. The Connie has like 6 different variants, but every 100 years they update it in lore, don't they, Algared?
Well, yeah, we know it. We know there's a story with a Connie that's been jerry-rigged to have a cannon firing out the tail instead of its hangar bay, so could they update one? Could we get one with a modern look? Yeah, but I think from that the discussion from the bar citizen, now that was a Hong Kong bar citizen, so we got things may have been lost in translation as well. But the idea has always been there'd be, as I understand it, would be different ships from different periods, and some ships won't get updated to the new look. And the Connie could be one of those ships that keeps its old look. The question for the Connie is, does it need to be updated to fit the game? And if they do that, if they have to do a lot of work on it to pull it in properly, then it may get an update.
I think it's mainly going to get the struts removed. And I think it does need a really large overhaul, and I think a lot of that's just got to do. It'll get it eventually, like all the older ships. Yeah. The Starfarer needs it. The Tali needs it. Anything that was the only one I think that's kind of worked fairly well has been the Caterpillar from the original 5. I'm talking about here. The Cutlass got a complete rework. It's the only one that's actually really received it. Funny how the Drake ones kind of survived the test of time. Now I think about it, but yeah.
Well, the Cutlass, In fairness, the Caterpillar wasn't one of the original 5, but I'll nitpick.
Want to take that back? It was I'll go pull up the images if you don't believe me. The Caterpillar's been around for it was the evil twin of the Freelancer.
I did not say it hasn't been around for a long time. I said original 5.
Oh, okay.
Original 5, Hornet, Freelancer, 300i, Aurora, Constellation.
Yep. Cutlass as well. Cutlass has been there since Kickstarter.
Not the original 5, according to the patches.
All right.
Yep. So, I'm looking at the cloth patches they did for the original 5 ships.
Okay.
And they were the 5.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Monster Avery says, not directly related to, but some bar citizen again. What was your interpretation of the wording used for the land claims and sales of them? Sounds like we can't sell land except to the UAE. You can sell land claims to other people, so you're selling the claim. It's like it's like in real life. You can own the surface, but you can't earn under the ground, so to speak. You can have a claiming to an area. When you buy your house, you have that allotment, but you don't own anything underneath it, and things like that. So,
although
it's just the same as real life, essentially. There's nothing real.
Although the original land claims were also like mining claims because you had the rights for the mining on that land claim. So,
So maybe the
are they
example
changing
I'm
that?
giving is a bad example, but what I'm trying to say is the example I'm trying to give is you're selling the claim. You're not selling the. You don't own the area. You're selling claims, so it's not that different. And
So-
claims can be destroyed too. Those little beacons can be destroyed.
So are you saying that your land claim? Well, I think once you've got the beacon down and you've made the land claim, that's on the map. You own it. The beacon.
Well, it's reported.
doesn't get
Yeah,
built on.
once it's reported to the UEE, yeah, essentially.
So the question is, could you have a land claim or own land on Crusader? Well, if they sell it to you, how long would that be the case? I don't know.
All right,
don't know how big one.
Quillsaw Prime, thank you for the 2-month subscription on Twitch. Appreciate it.
Yep. Ravenford.
Yep, you can read this one. I'll turn it on in a second.
Yep. Do you think that we will get passenger transport missions before the end of the year?
Short answer from me is no.
Yep. Short answer for me is no. You can do passenger transport now by using beacons, and that's just PvP or PvE type, or PV co-op type stuff. Will we be transporting AI or NPCs? I don't think so.
This is a really interesting question, this next one. So it says, Walter Howell asks, with the whole sea soon in-game, will we finally be getting some Gargo missions? No, I don't think we'll get any Gargo missions. Cargo missions, yes, but no Gargo missions. Algared, what about you? Any Gargo missions for you?
No Gargo missions. Maybe Garbo missions. Maybe transporting, clearing garbage, I'd love to see a garbage skiff.
That'd actually be kind of cool, actually, like a waste ship, wouldn't it?
scow.
Yeah.
Yep, a garbage scow. Just one that
It'd
goes
be
around the station, bring out the garbage.
Well, we've
just
already got
take it
waste as cargo, Algared, so maybe not. Maybe it's just different cargo containers, but it would be cool to see a ship that could maybe compact its waste or something. I don't know, down the road maybe. Different form of cargo missions.
Ship would have to go up to the terminals and latch on and suck out all the bio waste and take it away.
It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it, type of thing.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah.
The dirty job, someone's got to do it. But I used to years and years ago. I think there was a TV show called Quark. No, or it sounds like Quark, but that's a Ferengi. But it was basically this space series about a garbage scow and the problems he got up to. Almost Red Dwarf type-esque, except that was a mining ship. This was literally a garbage scow. And it was just, the captain had images of being great, and he was the captain of a garbage scow. And so,
all right, next question from Patch44. Nice to see you, Patch. Party hat question. Do you guys... So you guys would like more hand touching? What?
So you guys would like more hand touching?
I don't get that. Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Yeah. Out of context, Patch. Give us a context question. Cause
context is a wonderful thing.
Yeah. I think he was trying to make a joke at the time, and it's now passed, so we don't get it.
Passed way beyond the thing, so it's beyond our ability to comprehend.
Statutes of limitations has passed. Right, Queris again, fourth question. Considering the cargo ship like the whole CDE can't go down to a planet, would you have thought that they would add a station above all the planets? If not, how would trade with no stations there? It's called the Kraken Privateer or the Kraken.
Yep, or hull A, hull B.
And manually unload in space.
Yep.
Docking ships to other ships. Yeah, that's just
Like
basically it. And that's why no stations suck.
We've often said if you've got a moon with no station and you've got a Kraken, you take your Kraken and park it above where you are, and you act like a mobile space station.
And now I get what you meant by banner merchantman. What are you talking about? You can't unload it being banner. But you're right. Yeah, you just take the banner merchantman instead of the whole series. Yes, I'm with you now.
So it goes down to the planet. So any of those transport ships that go down a planet. So yeah. Dynamic.
All right, hang on. You're going too fast. You've got to give me time to
That's okay.
edit every question by hand. All right, yeah, go for it now.
So Namek says, will the circular docking collars also be used for ships to station docking or just ship to ship?
Will the circular docking collars also be used for ship to ship? So,
I believe they're ship to ship because
That's
of the
correct.
size of things. So
Yeah.
you've got
we
the
do
big ones.
we do have docking collars though that are capital, and they have a round one in the door of the capital one. So they are multi or ambidoctorous, or I'm trying to make up a word there, but
Yeah.
they do both. Bidockle.
Bidockle.
I got it. Eventually.
Bidockle.
Yeah.
That's almost a new word. Bidockle.
Yes.
The
Bidockle.
bidockle ship.
Yeah. Yeah. You can copyright CRG. You can pay my royalties whenever ready. So yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, Algared, or we?
No. I think it's self-evident.
Yep. Alrighty then. Next one is from Sebastian, who says, "What is the chances of the Polaris being flyable at CitizenCon this year?" Algared, I'll let you take that one.
It's possible. Do I think likely? I'm not sure where we're up to on it. I think it's been on the roadmap. They've been doing some work on it. I don't know how much work they've done it because I haven't paid attention. If it's RSI that we're working on, that is the focus of CitizenCon or IAE, then I think definitely then it could be IAE. Do I think CitizenCon? Probably not.
I just want to point out the irony of a teacher not paying attention.
Yep.
All right.
There's some things it's superfluous, so you don't worry about it.
Waterhack says, "Will we hear about the completion of server meshing at CitizenCon?" Didn't he answer that? We answered that one already. Stop making me double copy things.
That's because people ask the question, we don't get to it when they expect us to answer straight away. And you got to remember, guys, when
be new.
When we do our questions, it goes into our bank, and we literally just go down the line. And so, if you ask a question at 6 o'clock and we haven't answered it, don't worry. It's probably going to be one of the first questions we answer. Hey, we're at 7:39 now, so we're only an hour behind.
Who the hell says, "Do you think Starfield will challenge Star Citizen developers to do more tweak updates on thing already in game and add more stuff to compete with it, therefore yet again adding more delays before launch?" No. I think there was a lot missing out of that Starfield Direct. It's not a sphere. For one, I reckon it will just be a generated level, and I reckon as you go to the side, it just loads more. I think they haven't shown all this stuff. They've just literally shown sweeping vistas as you turn. They haven't shown you running around the planet. They don't have vehicles for one, so that straight away limits how far you can move.
It's a single player game.
Can you single player, Seraphim, that's another good one. But if you were going to literally think about it, if you were trying to walk from do the Daymar Rally without a vehicle, good luck. Right? So people they know by not having vehicles, it severely limits how far you're going to travel. So that instantly reins it in heaps.
Keep your lap maps down.
It reduces the speed that you move at, so therefore they can procedurally generate it as you run towards it, essentially. It's heaps slower.
Yeah. The thing you want to ask is what impact it's going to have on Squadron 42. The PU, totally irrelevant question.
Yep.
Totally different. Everything is totally different. It's a multiplayer game versus a single player game. The closest you want to get is Squadron 42 versus Starfield, and I don't think they compare.
I think, knowing what Starfield is, it's like an RPG role-playing game, yeah?
Yep.
Right? I would akin Star Citizen more to the cinematic story piece of what Wing Commander is. So it's that almost choose-your-own-adventure. It's got with cinematics in it, with the combat pieces. So it's got these three different pieces to it. It's got this ship combat, FPS combat, which is combat. I'll just put that in the same vein. Then you've got the actual living and socialization on the ship part as well. And then the cinematics, because there are going to be some long cinematics in that.
The key thing with Wing Commander, and this is something that will come across, was the relationships you had with the crew. If you develop that relationship with the mechanic, then if you wooed her, your ship was always in good nick. Those types of things. If you were on really good terms with your wingman, you got better support. That socialization in Squadron 42 is huge. I've said it before. People lost their shit over Keanu Reeves being used in Cyberpunk.
Yep.
That's 1 star. And yet Squadron has them coming out the wazoo.
Yep.
Um,
That said, though, besides probably... I have to think about this. I don't think any of them are quite as big as Keanu Reeves is.
yeah, you've said that in the past.
Yeah.
I,
Keanu Reeves is pretty big. I'll put it this way. I'll say Idris Elba, though, is on peer with some of the others there. Like Henry Cavill was a lot smaller, and he's a lot bigger now. He'd be bigger than Idris Elba. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. At the end of the day, I think they are 2 different games. I think there is some crossover. They both happen to be space games, but isn't there room for both? I'll play both, you know. But I am more interested in Star Citizen.
I'm more interested in Squadron 42 for all of the reasons that have been said.
Yeah.
But I'm not as interested. Yeah, does Starfield look good? Yeah, but is it as you know? To me, when I'm seeing it, I'm just going, yeah, it's just Fallout in space. That's what it felt like to me. And that's not something that's really interested me in the past. So, will it be a good game? Probably. Will I play it? Maybe. But it's not something I'm looking forward to, and I don't think it necessarily challenges Squadron 42, and definitely doesn't challenge the PU.
Yeah.
So,
first time chatter says Squadron 42 actors will be dead by the time it releases, and I replied, "Who's dying by the end of next year?" Look, I'll be really like. Generally, there are things that me and Algared hear that we can't talk about, and I'm telling you, next year. Just trust on that. And if you don't trust us, that's totally cool.
that's fine.
I won't be offended. Algared will be. Just don't say anything.
I won't be.
I know you. I'm
offended,
joking. I'm joking.
But you know, I know you're joking.
Take the joke. All right. Next question. Parker XGPS. I don't know what that means. Used to be a GPS system. He's an XGPS. Right. Question. Did the Crucible Re concept get shelved? I think it might have potentially. But I think it was on the roadmap for a little bit because they were looking at doing repair. I think it's kind of a little bit like kind of what happened with Salvage, but not to that same extreme. So I think it's just being kicked down the road a little bit. I think they've found they were looking at which ones they could do and which one was smaller, and they probably found bounty hunting was a smaller one that they could slot in, so they've gone with that instead. And it probably had double over benefits that came from Squadron 42. So doing a bit of something for Squadron 42 led into being able to do bounty hunting easier for Star Citizen.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we got a smaller repair ship that used the ARM type repairing system, right?
Yep.
You know, or they bring out the drones, and drones is one of the last things. I don't think we'll see drones in the near future, which is why I don't.
It's just not really needed for Squadron 42. Yep. But to be honest,
but it's also.
But that said, though, drones are not that hard to do. They're just combining the remote turret tech with flying a ship.
Yeah, but it's in effect the drones are little ships, and so
yes,
that's the problem with drones, and yeah, so anyway, yeah.
They did talk about was something that was leading to drones that came up about 6 months ago, but it was an ISC. I totally forget it because it was such an off the comment remark. But if they ended up doing that stuff, you know, it
would be something that could lead to drones. But
exactly,
there's still before they do drones, there's other stuff they got to go in, and once they've got that, then they can look at doing the ships that have got drones, and that's why I don't think we'll see the Vulcan.
Again,
and it's one reason why.
Again, not needed for Squadron 42.
Yep.
It always comes back to that. Yeah.
And it's why the Crucible was probably being looked at before the Vulcan, because it used both systems of repair. So, but.
All right, next question. Light Show says, do you think they will buff fighter weapons once things like NPC crew and blades come online to make the bigger ships more powerful in most situations? Wait, that's the opposite. Wait, do you think they will buff fighter weapons once things like NPC crew and blades come online to make the bigger ships more powerful? That's an oxymoron. You've said the opposite of what you said in the first part. So buff
The answer to
fight.
that is yes or no. They were balanced.
Why would they make the
So
the
what they
fight?
make-
Let me finish. Why would they make the fighter weapons bigger? Because that makes the fighters more powerful. And then you've said make the ships more powerful. Make the bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. So what he's saying is when AI blades come on, will they make fighters? Will they balance the fighters to work? They will do everything. So when AI blades come in, you'll see some ships will go up in ability, some will go down in ability. They'll balance it so it works the way they want. You know, just like they do with every MMO does with every patch they bring out. Play Lotro. Every patch you go through and, oh, my class has now got to be redone because they've changed stuff, and so it's now been rebalanced. Happens all the time. It'll happen with this Sandgroper.
Yep. So Sandgroper says, with the upcoming changes to Twitch, where will the Inforunners live stream end up being broadcast on? If we have to move it, we'll move it. But we don't. Yeah, we haven't really pushed for partner or anything on Twitch. We just. I'm gonna be honest with you. We do it there for you guys for convenience, so you can pick, right? And if they make that, I'm gonna be honest with you. If they make it super inconvenient, then we just don't do it on Twitch.
Yeah, we do it. We Inforunners is basically a YouTube base. We moved into Twitch because it was more convenient for you guys.
If you guys end up doing something radical like moving over to Facebook or whatever, we'll stream it there for you. Wherever you guys go, that's why we're doing it on Twitch. We just realized there were a lot of people that wanted it on Twitch because they had essentially they're subscribed so they can remove the ads and stuff like that. That's why they wanted it. So we put it there so you can have an ad-free experience and you can pick your poison. That's what it's there for.
But that's the only reason we really do Twitch is
for you guys.
Yep.
Alrighty.
We're just kind and loving and sweet and generous and all that other rubbish.
Okay. Stop it, you're sapping now. Right.
Tom Van Doren says,
Yep.
Bought the Womp, the LTI Fury last time. Can I use this in the Kraken CCU? Yes.
Absolutely.
That's why we say that's why when a small ship with LTI comes out, it's referred to as a LTI token. You small ship and then you CCU all along the track, and then eventually if you've got a CCU to the Kraken, and then you build the CCU chain up, and the more CCUs you put in and the more Warbond CCUs you put in the chip, you can make that ship.
I didn't hide it that time. I made a mistake. Long story short, though, with what he's referring to is I used the links in the CCU chaining guide. I kind of stuffed up. I should have used the Fury. It's technically saved you $5 cash if I was doing it absolutely perfect, but I was during that period. I get very exhausted, as you guys know. So, my apologies there, but it really does not matter. It's a half a dozen of one of six of the other type of thing.
In essence, when he was doing that guide, he had the ship that he used, so that's the one. I'll start with that point.
Yeah.
But LTI tokens, you pick up any cheap ship. If you're looking at going a $500 ship down the track, even if you pick up $100 ship with LTI, you've still got all those steps. But the cheaper you can make that start point, the more chance you've got of getting LTI tokens or more Warbond tokens in there, and every Warbond CCU you get will help you reduce your price, and that's why you tend to go cheap ones.
A couple of housekeeping things that I want to talk about real quick. I'm obviously going away. There may or may not be a stream next week, depending on how I'm doing, because I've got to get my sleep sorted for the flight. So if I can get it sorted beforehand in such a way, it'll be all good, and we'll do a stream.
If we don't, we'll put something up.
Yeah, we'll put a Fix My Fleet or something out like that. Not a tuner will return when I return, just because what's going to happen is while I'm gone, and I hope you guys will make him welcome, he's being very generous with his time, Paul is going to stream on the Inforunners for 4 hours, and then he's going to switch over and do his own stuff. So he's been very kind because he's got the time off. He's gonna stream on Inforunners. I'm gonna give him some graphics and stuff, and so it'll be probably a little bit weirdly laid out, but somewhat similar to what we've got here, and he's going to stream with Algared because Algared doesn't have the bandwidth to stream.
Yep. Why aren't I doing it? Well, the fact that I'm not on video at the moment is partly why.
Yeah. So I hope you'll make him feel welcome,
Because
and help
the
him
internet is
out.
being
Yeah. So I hope you'll.
lots of law questions. Because Paul and I love law questions.
Yeah. So it'll just be for a couple of streams, for 4 streams. But yeah, if you can make him feel welcome, and make him feel, well, he's not on our streams, but I think he's done 1 or 2, and take the time to ask some questions of someone that is not normally here, and if you're so feeling obliged, Algared, get some guests on while I'm gone, fill in the gaps. They won't have the bot, so questions may come a bit thicker and quicker, because Paul and Algared, Paul tends to just take questions.
Yeah, a bot is kind of something that was made and kind of works with it.
Yeah, it works with my machine exclusively, so it's a bit.
And one of the reasons one reason Paul does the questions the way he does and more or less answers them straight away is because
he doesn't have the bot.
But
so you might even have to get a mod or something to help you pull them out.
Stores everything in less than.
So yeah.
Yep. That's okay. We added a new mod recently.
Yes, we did. So we've just gone up to 4.
Help us out, and we go.
We've got as many mods as CIG has community. Community.
That's sad. That's a worry.
That is kind of sad. Community managers is the word I was looking for. All right. So yeah, now that's out of the way. We'll get back to the questions. But I just wanted to let you guys know what's happening. So yeah, please please make Paul welcome and behave while I'm away. All right.
Brad clearly does not understand. Oh, how did Algared become a millionaire? Well, Algared bought chips and then did stuff, but
Glad
how
success.
I became a millionaire, I'm not. Deep fried Tavarin, I think, is how Algared became a millionaire, or the fact that his old man Hurston. But yeah, in real life, I'm anything but, because I bought lots of ships. So the secret to my success is don't buy ships.
So Monster, that would definitely work on Twitch, 100%. And we can probably talk to mods about setting that up, but there's no equivalency thing on you. Or is there? If you did the Q&A on YouTube and did the highlighted questions on Twitch at the same time, Algared, and then just alternated. So look at YouTube for a fair bit, because most of the questions will come from YouTube. Do the Q&A. Just remember what I'm saying here, obviously. There's Q&A on YouTube, and then get people to do highlighted questions, and we can just lower the like at the moment it's set to 100. I'll just lower it down to 1, and literally people can just, so you can just literally go between the two. But Paul doesn't have OBS set up like I do. He's got his 2 separate things, and he uses Restream. So
I know.
May work, may not. All right. Anyway, sorry. This is something I've been talking about all week, because I was trying to pep them. I said, you guys are not prepared for what you're about to walk into.
We've been looking at this for a couple of weeks in terms of how we'll do it and what will go on. But yeah, at the moment, like we've got Twitch I've got Twitch to my left. I've got YouTube below. I've actually got the YouTube stream running to the side, so that I tend to see that.
And I run a screen that I share on Discord that basically has OBS, and we have Twitch off to one side and YouTube down the bottom. So yeah. All right. So next question. Afro Snowman says, do you think we will see the Apollo series or Spirit series anytime soon? Well, Spirit this year, definitely. Algared, Apollo, what do you think?
RSI. So if RSI is the focus for IAE, I wouldn't be surprised to see something on the Apollo series, because it's a smaller ship. So it would be the small, of the RSI ships that are coming. It's the smallest one we've got coming. So if they get the drones, the Shepherd drones working, I could see it working. Definitely getting a Guernsey. Do they need the Shepherd drones for the Apollo to work? No, because it's got beds. And the harder thing, I think, is just the variance of the beds, how they swap out those beds in the Apollo. But I think we'll see some work on it. If RSI is worked on for IA, I think we'll see something because it's RSI.
Yeah, sorry,
But
Paul. So Paul's his name, but yeah, Astropub or the Astro Historian is who they're talking about on Twitch. So yeah, he'll be he's an Inforunner. He just doesn't not normally here for the stream because he's doing his own thing, as most of the boys do their own thing. And this is Algared and mine's thing. So, but he's been kind enough to do that while I'm away, which is great. I really appreciate it.
Paul has been, in fact, if you're looking at the main Inforunners at present, it'd be you, me, Paul, and Badgers probably. They're the ones who are, we're the four who are really doing the main heavy lifting. But Inforunners as a team.
You should
Execute and I are just the faces.
Definitely question Paul on. Actually, one of the questions, Algared actually came up with a really good show idea, and I did say it to Paul, and we are going to do it, Algared, but we're going to wait until I'm back so you can join us. Right. So I was going to record this episode with Paul, and instead we did something else because we want to do it with Algared. But Algared, you tell him the idea you had.
Yep. So one of the things we've often done in the past is, can we fix it? And we know how much Paul loves Viridimer. Like he doesn't. And so the idea was, can we fix it? Can we fix the Redeemer with Paul? How would you fix the Redeemer? So can we fix it for the Redeemer with Paul? And I think that'd be a really good episode. Because those episodes are us looking at what we hate or what we dislike about the ship and the function of a ship and how we would...
Critical feedback is what the term you're looking for,
But also trying to take on all the negativity that people have said about the ship or what's wrong with the ship, and then looking at what things you do to
positive how to positively fix it, not just say this sucks, things like redeeming the Redeemer. Redeeming the Redeemer, I guess essentially was one of the very first Can We Fix It episodes, but Paul wasn't on it as far as I'm aware. That's essentially redeeming the Redeemer was the very first Can We Fix It episode, and a lot of episodes that we have done that turn into like little series and stuff are ones that have come out of other stuff. So, and then there's ones that I've just plucked out of behind, like Fix My Fleet, was just an idea I had, and it took off.
But also with Fix My Fleet, that was because we were constantly getting, I've got this, what do I do?
Yeah.
And after about the fifth time of answering the same question, it was like, we should just do a series.
Yeah. And then what was the other one? Command and Control. That came out of just an idea of running scenarios, like how would we do this and how would we do that? That kind of came about similar to how Fix My Fleet came about. Can we fix it? Ship Scrutiny was just... Ship Scrutiny is kind of like Can We Fix It, but it's more like going back and looking at things they've said to kind of reinforce where they're going. So rather than Can We Fix It looking at a ship that's come out, it's looking at ships that aren't out yet. It's the opposite of Can We Fix It, essentially.
So Ship Scrutiny was digging deep into what we know about the ship. So the Crucible. And we'd forgotten crap ton on the Crucible. Because it had been several years, and when we went back and dug into everything, we were like, "Oh crap, it's got drones." That was. I can remember. Oh crap, it's got drones.
Yeah.
It was.
M Walker on Twitch says Paul will say the only way to fix the Redeem is for it to have never been made in the first place. That is not an acceptable answer.
Yep.
And he knows that as well, and we will not let that fly.
Yeah. That.
Cop-out is not a thing that Inforunners will stand for. Like the worst thing that happens is we're in a room with 10 people, and some of them are random, some are you guys, right? And you'll be in there, and someone just goes, "I disagree," and they will not say why. And my opinion is that you're wrong. That person does not last very long in that room, because you can't just say I disagree with you and not give evidence to the contrary. If you are doing speculation, you have to have evidence. You have to have things back you up, right? And as long as everyone plays ball correctly, what happens is eventually, no matter who you are, you'll get things wrong, you'll get things right.
Yeah.
But eventually we all move towards this consensus. And I've seen it. You have to be willing to be wrong.
Well done.
Yeah, we've been in rooms of 20 people, and all 20 walk away in a consensus. It's bizarre thing to see, but you have to be willing to have your mind changed. You have to be willing to let the process work.
Even on Fix My Fleet,
Mm.
you've done it. How long were you totally packs never work? There's never ever a ground where a pack will work. And
for the longest time, I thought he was crazy. But you proved me wrong.
Always say,
Yeah.
And I've always said there is an area where packs are valuable and work. It doesn't work. And most situations where you're right, packs don't work. And but there are situations where you go, yeah.
Look, I'll give you guys a little bit of it. I'm noticing a lot of people talking about fixing the Redeemer. One of the ones I've talked about a few times, and it actually, the idea I originally got from the boom slang, believe it or not, is take the Reclaimer looking engines and put that on the Redeemer and literally just make it a variant of the Redeemer. And basically it is no different at all other than essentially the proxy mesh around the engines, but it's no different at all. It's just a variant. An engine variant, but it flies exactly the same. And I think that would fix it for a lot of people, because you correct me if I'm wrong, Algared, most people's hate is the engines.
Yeah. Oh, look, most people's hate is engines. I like the engine. I like the look of the engines, but as you know, I've always had a criticism of the engines that they are not Star Citizen-esque. They don't fit the verse.
Yeah.
And why do they not fit the verse? Because they're the only engines of that time.
I think the thing, though, we heard today, though, too, where they were talking about engines from different time periods, that Redeemer would have to be Aegis's latest ship.
Yeah, it is supposed to be a late ship, but then since then, we've had other ships that have come out. But
I think they just need to change the law and bump it up to it came out last week when the game releases. type of thing. So yeah. And put it this way, if it's there before launch, I would want to see an Aegis ship that comes out that has those engines, because I think that'll reinforce it for people.
I want to see more ships of that engine style. If it's a new engine style that Aegis have done, I want to see new engine ships from them that have it.
Can you imagine like a Saber with those engines, and it's like highly maneuverable or something like that, but it's even weaker or something like that, so it gives it.
I even postulated at the time that maybe it's picked up Tavaran tech, or they're using Tavaran tech in that, because if it can use, at that time we didn't have Tavaran ships, and so opportunities to make sense of things that it's an anachronism. It is it's an anachronism. It doesn't fit the verse because the engines are just so unique.
Yeah, and as I said, if you can find a law reason, and the law reason now we can see that they're trying to make different time periods, which makes sense because they've got the architecture and stuff like that. I can see it working. It just needs more examples of it, and the more examples you have of it, the more normalized it will become. Algared, I'm going to get you to do this question. I'm going to go to the bathroom because my cups of tea are catching up with me, so I'll let you do this one.
All right, William Bridge has a question. William Bridge says, instead of buying ships instantly in game, they should, depending on the size of ship, make you wait to get it, and you visit the manufacturing area and see your Orion being built for a few days. Yeah, that would be cool. You buy a ship. There's an element where when you buy a ship in game, you're literally going to the showroom and buying the ship off the thing. But if you're buying a Crusader C2, then going to the shipyard and seeing your ship, seeing the progress on your ship, could be cool. It's a nice idea. Maybe down the track we will see that. But the idea is certainly, and there is an idea that we will see that when you're buying a ship, certainly big ships, you're not going to necessarily pick them up straight away. You'll go to the place where it's being sold. You might get your ship, but then if it's getting repaired, you're not going to get it straight away. So yeah, I could see it working in that regard. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that idea. I know there'd be people who'd hate that. Let's see, who on is Ryo? So Ryo says those engines should be part of the the counter mechanic for interdiction. Yep, they could be. But the problem is that Redeemer doesn't have nothing's been said about it, and it's the only ship with those scissor type engines, and that's the problem. I will hold you to that Shinobi trip. There'll only be one substitute teacher. Let's see, why didn't they already say they were going to significantly up the claim times? They did. So they did say, Monster AV, that they are going to increase the claim times of ships. In fact, I think they already have increased the claim times of a lot of the ships. So in answer to that question, I said, yeah, it'd be cool.
So what was the question? Instead of buying ships instantly in-game, they should, depending on ship size, make you wait to get and visit the manufacturing area to see your Orion being built.
Could be cool, but
that would be it would be really cool to see them come down the production line, and I think we will eventually see things like that. Like we've seen concepts of the different ships coming down manufactured. Like the one I'm thinking of there was one for the Nautilus, there was one for the C2 series, the Hercules series, the Eclipse series. So I do think we eventually see ships being made at factories, and the one that pops off the production line, could we see it like literally kind of do a switch over in the background that you don't see, but then it flies off to its destination? Absolutely. Do we need to see that?
No.
No.
And it's like buying a car. You go, can you go to a manufacturer and buy a car from the showroom floor? Yeah. Sometimes you need to wait a day or two, and they deliver it to you.
I think the way you would do it is it would slip into the Qantas stuff, wouldn't it, Algared? So you essentially, like, if you just keep following it, it keeps spawn. But eventually, at some point, you have to stop. You will stop following it. You're only human. You can't follow that all the way to its destination. So it'll,
But it'd be nice to see the production line of ships. It'd be nice to see them not, go to the terminal, buy the ship, it's automatically there in your hangar. It'd be nice to have to wait a few days for it to. But it's also a game.
Yep. And
games need to be fun, and it's not necessarily fun to buy a ship and then wait 48 hours before I can fly my ship. So there's that element. But I could see that type of thing being in a reclaim system as well. So, yeah.
I'd have them more likely see them deliver it into like a hangar at the end of the line or something like that, but you can't go into the hangar and then after it's in the hangar, then they're delivered out of that hangar. So there is a disconnect. So it disconnects as it goes into the hangar, but then it comes out of the top of it or something like that, where it's delivered off to somewhere. So they just have a stockpile of them. So if 4 of them are crashed at the same time, 4 fly out, and get delivered to the next place or whatever. You get what I'm trying to get at. Anyway, all right, next question. MU235 says, does Covalex really strain the servers? Thought I don't believe it. There's not too much legacy code in that. Well, everything there's bespoke, mate. Any station that's bespoke, how do I explain this?
Well,
so
really can't modify it, can you?
Let me put it this way. If you have the same thing, right, it uses the same amount of memory, right? So if I have this pen, right, if I put this pen in memory, in RAM, or anything like that, right, I can duplicate it 100 times and it only uses the same amount of memory. But if I have 2 pens, right, it's double the amount of memory. So it's the same process as that. If everything in that station is bespoke and it's only used there, where if you look at the space stations where they're using a modular system, it's using the same amount of memory and things like that. So it also brings the file size of the game down. There's a whole bunch of advantages like that, right? So they're just less things that you got to load into RAM and stuff like that. So it's just more optimizations. The more optimized the game is across the board, the more people they can put into it, the smoother it runs, etc., etc. It's all a flow-on effect. So yeah.
So how much it strains the servers, don't know, but being bespoke and being legacy, I think there is stuff that it would do. Is there much legacy code in there? Probably not, because it doesn't seem to have, doesn't have docking platforms or things that work. It's just, but it still goes back to what Execute was saying. So yeah. Bok has a question.
All right, I'll let you read that one because I got distracted by angry PC tech. I did taking down a peg.
So Buck says the Pioneer comes with LTI. Without LTI, sorry. If the price increase over $1,000 mark when it's released, will everyone who bought it for $850 get LTI afterwards? No. If your ship.
No. What he means, no, he's correct. It would go if it goes over $1,000, right? But at $850, it probably most likely won't go over $1,000, right?
But if you bought your ship for $850, will your ship for $850 get LTI after? No.
Yes, that is what happened with the Master Set, Algared. The Endeavour Master Set, yep. When it went up in price, everyone retroactively got LTI. As what I remembered, but we can go double check it. I might be wrong. I don't know. We'll go double check that and let you know. But realistically, you could also just you'd have to pay more money to get it though, wouldn't you? So yeah, that's a tough one.
It's hard because if I go back and look at my original Master Set, it was bought during the original concept sale, which meant it had LTI at that.
Maybe someone in chat can answer that for us. Is there someone that brought the Master Set when it was on? Is there anyone that's got the Master Set and it doesn't come with LTI? That would answer that question straight away. So have a look in your buyback, people that have the Master Set or the Endeavour, and tell me, is there anyone that got it where it doesn't have LTI? Which I think most people would have melted it and rebought it back if it did not have it.
I think most people who had the $900 Master Set melted it and upgraded because the original Master Set.
They went back and added the biopod to that, which essentially put that out. I added it. Let me finish. It made it go over $1,000, so it would have retroactively got LTI. Is my whole point.
But they didn't know. But if you had the $900 one, you didn't get the second biopod automatically. They added the second biopod to the Master Set, and most people who had the old one sold it and bought the new one to get LTI on it.
That's not what I remember. I remember they updated, but we're getting into semantics here because it really doesn't matter.
And it's old, and it is ancient, and it's old, and
long story short, I think we would agree there is a way around it. If they release that ship and it goes over $1,000, I will be very surprised. I do think a tip of that will be what happens with the Polaris. It is $750. We're expecting $850, right? And that kind of tells you in the neighborhood. It's usually 10%, right? As I said. So, what was the Hammerhead? The Hammerhead was $650 and went to $725. So that's a $75 increase, which is a little bit more than what we expected because we were expecting.
All right. Luna Ducky in YouTube says that they did. And it has LTI, so they can confirm. So you bought the old $900 one. They updated it so they gave it the extra pad and it increased. All right, there you go.
Oh, good to know. Well,
it is.
It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about getting correct information. So
that's right. Absolutely.
That is why we discuss everything. Yeah.
And the one I've got, I melted because I didn't need it anymore. So.
Yeah, the Master Set's something that I find it a really tough pill to swallow because I'd rather have individual Endeavours and just earn the modules for the same price. You can essentially get, was it 3 of those for the same thing?
Yep.
So
yeah, 3 Endeavours for the price of the Master Set. And even if you triple the price of all the modules, each individual module, they'd still be in that category we say is earning game.
Absolutely.
That's the most expensive module in the pack. If you triple the price.
What's the most expensive one? It's like $200 or something. No. There's one that's like 100. I can't remember which one it is, but there's one that's there's one that's close to 200.
There was the Collider, that was I think 100. The Hospital was 100, and I thought I'm
sure someone in chat will look it up. What is the most expensive Endeavour module, and how much is it?
And this is and if I'm wrong, it's just me having old man syndrome.
I know there's one that's 150 and one that's 120, but I can't remember. Anyway, it's been a while. Been a couple of years since I've gone and looked at them. So anyway.
I think the expensive ones were the Telescope, the Collider, and the Hospital.
Yeah. All right, next question. Daniel says, the Javelin has 6 modular rooms. What can we do with those rooms? I'm thinking Galaxy concept rooms. Algared, I'll let you take this because you know way more about the Javelin than I
do. We know it's got 6 concept. We know it's got 6 modular rooms. That's it. We know in lore there's at least one Javelin that was luxury, because the Imperator used a luxury, lived in their luxury suites on their Javelin. That's it. What other rooms have we heard? None. We do know from.
Can we play devil's advocate for a second? Because I think you could realistically think about some of them. Cargo's the obvious one, right?
Oh, Cargo's an obvious one. But they've talked about in the original sale of a Javelin being used by entrepreneurs for commercial purposes and other stuff.
So I run it through. It's a massive combat ship. So something like an armory, extended armaments. So adding, because we know it fires torpedoes.
People early on postulated that some of those rooms could be additional hangars or hangar space.
That's a good one.
Troop rooms, extra crew quarters.
Where are the rooms located? Do they actually have, do they touch to external services? So you could do extra hangars?
I'd have to look at the map again.
Are they, because again, if there's turrets in the way, they're not going to be able to do that.
My understanding was they're always in between the turrets. But if you look at the map, the interior map, I think they're below on another deck. So they're rooms rather than.
Yeah, I think they're individual rooms. So again,
they are individual rooms. And my like I said, I always used to think that they were those sections in between the turrets on the side.
So the way the thing I run it back to is think about what all the other military ships do. So you've probably got a troop transporter of some description. You've probably got a brig or prison type thing of some description. If they do have a luxury one, maybe it's the ultimate VIP transport, like it is just the absolute bling bling ship in the game. I can see it, I really can, but it would be such a sinkhole to run. Like it would be an absolute drain on resources. Real quick, Super Collider at $175. There we go, bang. So that's the one. That's the one that if you triple it would probably start to be.
One. So if you're going to buy a module for the Endeavour, that's the one to buy.
I still don't recommend any of them at that price.
No, that would be the one to buy, because if you triple the price, it then goes to basically 300 and 25 or 3. That. Or no, 500 and something.
Yeah. So going back to the Javelin, you're kind of going to look at things that would increase its capabilities. Like, can you put, I don't know.
Can you put a refinery?
It kind of goes but would you want to put a refinery on it? It's a capital combat ship. It is a destroyer class ship. So the rooms I tend to look at, it might have 6 rooms, right? That doesn't translate to 6 components. I don't know how else to say that, right? 6 swappable rooms. It's got 6 cargo rooms essentially, right? Does that mean you get to have cargo and an armory, and that's it? So you can put, it just allows you to put 6 armories in, So you got to run that back through. And when I run it through, being a combat ship, look at some of the other combat ships that we struggle with right now. So the only other modular one that I can think of, and there's probably one I'm missing here, is the Redeemer. Long range, short range, one that allows you to have a drop ship on it, right? So think about the Redeemer, how it works on it. So one that works with the Redeemer, that actually makes a lot of sense now. Run that through. So one that works with the Redeemer is a short range version. One that works with multiple Redeemers, so it's a long range version. So it can be escorted by multiple Redeemers and the crew, living quarters for the crew of the Redeemers. That makes a lot of sense to me, Algared. I don't know about you. You run that through in your head. Multiple Redeemers that can cycle through, much like the Polaris cycles things through. Wow. That changed it quite a bit. And that's a medium pad, but it's a custom pad though, isn't it? Because it's the Redeemer is technically medium, but it's smaller than other mediums. Okay, wow. Sorry, I just had an epiphany of what that ship's going to be like.
So when you read the initial release of a Javelin, you got the notice from the new command ship UEE Javelin destroyer sale and they're saying, "Hey, the Javelin."
Can you link me that so I can bring it up on screen?
It's called Introducing the Javelin.
Yeah, just link it to me, please. And while you do that, I'll do the next question real quick, so it's ready to go. And then we can bring it up on screen and people can directly see what you're talking about.
Okay, link to you.
Thank you. All right, opening that now.
So, they initially thought that, yes, it has been stripped of its weapon systems. CIG have since, I believe, said, basically it's stripped of its military systems.
Is this, where's the map,
was,
Algared? Do you have the one of the map?
That'll be in that system as well. So it's on the next, that one.
Oh, this one here. So these are the rooms.
And I always thought they were they're the rooms in between the turrets on the side, but I do understand they're below because they're on the bottom floor. So your guess is as good as mine where the rooms are, but they're big.
I would say they're on the bottom of the ship. I would also say that would work for hangars based on the angular nature of the bottom of the ship. If you kind of look here on this one up on the top left here. And going based on they're in line with the turrets. The turrets are kind of here. So I would say they're kind of here somewhere.
See those spaces in between the turrets? That's where I always thought they were. So in that section,
so
they kind of slotted in and pulled out. But
yeah, I could see them having doors and you can fly a ship out. Yeah, I'd say that.
But when in the next page, in the second page down, when I'm talking about the ship, they talk about this. They talk about the ship being designed by Aegis.
Just real quick before you move on, there's something else I've noticed here that I think I need to make note of that I don't know if you've seen or not seen before. These two rooms at the back are very different from the front six.
Yep.
Didn't you say there were only 6 rooms?
Yep.
So what are the 2 at the back? Are they? Oh, okay.
Have a look at the side diagram where it talks about what the rooms are. So to the side.
Oh wait, over here.
Yep.
Bottom deck.
So access to 4 modular component rooms, access to the sub deck. So
2 engineering rooms. Yeah, they're the engineering rooms. Right. Okay. Fair enough.
And then you got that's 6 cargo rooms. So. So they have 6 cargo rooms, and I think they're the modular rooms, and then they've got 4 modular components and stuff.
Component bays, it says.
Yep. So that's
6 cargo rooms, 4 modular component bays. That's not a room. That's a component bay. That sounds a lot smaller.
Yep. But the cargo rooms are the modular rooms apparently. So.
Okay.
I'll just see if I can find it in the description.
I believe you. I'm just
mid deck, bottom deck.
A bit of a contradiction to what I've heard in the past. Okay. It's interesting. It's being our biggest ship in the game. It's not something that we've looked at for a long, long time.
So, sub deck, the ship's 6 total swappable, customizable rooms make it a base. Make the base Javelin a chassis that can be customized for different roles by switching these rooms. Although the first and foremost a combat-focused ship, the flexibility has allowed the Javelin to serve well beyond the life expectancy of other ships of its age, and that's that section there. So that is clearly 6 swappable, customizable rooms.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think hangars would be one. I think ones that work with the Redeemer would be another, because that makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to be honest, I actually think one of them, when I say hangars, I also think that would be not just to store the ship, but also repair the said ships. So it'd be like an engineering bay hangar. And then obviously cargo's one. Could you possibly, now just floating this idea, a hospital one for engagements and stuff as well?
Well, it does have hospital.
Okay.
does have a
But an
midday,
extension. So again, we know this is
Yep.
another thing, is much like what we said in the Carrack, is like extending what it already does. So if it already
Yep.
has got something like that, extending what it already has is a really good one. So the Javelin is very predominantly combat focused. It does it have a big kitchen or anything in it, Algared?
It's got a mess hall because it's an 80-person ship.
So could you possibly see a mess hall extension?
I imagine
so
you would have...
you know how we've talked about modules that
Yep.
you know, each ship has life support. So essentially, by putting that in, it increases the crew size.
Yeah. I think if you added crew quarters to the ship, that would part of that addition would be
you'd kind of
crew. If a mess hall can't cope with the extra crew, you'd add another one. But
so it'd have to be like a sleeping area for one. Oh, there you go. So one of the rooms would be a sleeping quarters, and the other one would be a mess hall.
yeah, if they do those, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do those rooms because they're opposite sides, very much like they do in the Endeavour. You know, it's 6 rooms, but you do them in pairs.
It's pretty easy. You can kind of go back now and you can start to feel it out quite a bit. Like, and I'm even starting to think of things like the Hammerhead. Like, what does the Hammerhead have in it as a combat ship? You know, the engineering room, the living quarters, the mess hall. That's it. You know, and so yeah, it's pretty easy. You can kind of logically see where these are going to go. I think yeah, I don't know. This is a question I think this would be kind of interesting as an episode, Algared, to kind of go look at some of the ships that have modular pieces, but they haven't talked about it. So we could do the Caterpillar, we could do the Redeemer, we could do the Javelin. That'd be an interesting episode. But I would like to do that with a very big group. That is one where we would have to pull in all the boys.
And I will point out the please note comment they had on the second page of that was, please note, before buying the Javelin is not a free ride to interstellar domination.
Where's
While
this?
it's the largest, this page 2,
Page
the
2.
introduction about the ship.
About the ship.
One.
Yep.
And it's the please note section.
Yeah, this one here. Yep.
Yep. And they say, you know, while it's the largest ship we have made available to backers, note it's not the largest ship they're going to sell or necessarily sell. It's actually the smallest UE ship of the line. Additionally, Javelin sold to players are used by the UE. They are surplus ships with their military weapons removed. Purchasing a Javelin, no, that's military weapons removed, not necessarily weaponless. And purchasing a Javelin.
When they actually made it not a hull anymore and made it so it had components, that's when they put the price up by $500 to 3,000.
Well, this is the original sale.
Yeah, I know. And the other interesting thing was I was in a room with there was 6 of us in a room, and these sold.
You're the only one who didn't buy it. Yep.
That's correct. But these sold out in 36 seconds, and I've just done the math. So it says 200 Javelins at $2,500 each. That's $500,000 in 36 seconds.
Yep. And they sold them in 4 waves, so there were waves of 50.
Not the first time. There were no waves the very first one, not that I remember.
Yes, there were. There were. I got mine in the 4th wave. Don't tell me when I got my Javelin, please, X. I'm sorry. This is the one where you are. In fact, they even say they're going on sale. Ships will go on sale, allowing us to get...
Actually, yeah, they do actually say that. 6 a.m. noon, 6 p.m.
And I got mine on the last wave, because the first wave I got in the basket, didn't work. Second wave got in the basket, didn't work. Third wave got in the basket, just held on to it, and then used the usual system. But yeah, but the key thing they say is that purchasing a Javelin means a new quest for your org or team as you rearm and upgrade it for your needs. And that's the key thing for a Javelin. A Javelin is not the be-all and end-all ship. It's a ship that gives you focus, gives you things to do in game. And why are we doing this mission? So we can rearm the Javelin. Why are we doing this mission? So we can get this component. You know. So yeah.
All right, let's move on. Next question.
It is definitely an interesting ship.
John Ski says, question, any chance for the Lightning coming to the Alpha as a flyable fighter before Squadron 2 comes out? No. Because they've literally said it's the ship that you will get for completing the campaign. Since it's basically been shown at every sale since the convention has been stolen by players. Well, the reason is because they obviously had to play it and test it for Squadron 42. So, yeah. Next question is from Complex Logic. I'll do that one.
You actually missed that one. So, yep.
You do the next one.
Okay, so you take out complex logic. I'll do Lord Hollington.
Yep.
Lord Hollington says, any guesses on when we might see munching? It feels like, well, Execute's probably getting the munchies now, so you might see it very shortly. It feels like it might take them around 2 years, since the Reclaimer will need a rework for that. Munching itself may, depends. The Reclaimer will probably need to be worked so they can get the claw working.
So what he's missing is the claw is one.
Yep.
And two is that is processing. Munching is just taking it into the ship.
Yep.
That's different from processing, which is when it comes out the
Yep.
other side, it's got to be sorted and all that stuff. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, but I think that's why he's saying the Reclaimer's going to need. I think the 2 years is he's talking about the Reclaimer needing the rework for the claw to work.
Not really.
But
that's really simple. It's just an animation and it grabs it. But first iteration won't have the claw and it won't have processing. And that stuff will be required for processing, though. Absolutely.
And even if it did take 2 years for him to get the Reclaimer working, we could get munching with the Vulture, just sucking it in and spitting it out as stuff in the box. So, yeah. But the Reclaimer will have more.
All right, next question. Complex Logic says, since they said that the whole C solved the last hurdle for modularity, did they say that? When do you think they'll start putting out modules and which ships will be first? And man, I do not remember hearing that. When was that said? Do you remember hearing that, Algared? I don't remember hearing that.
No, but hey, not saying they didn't. It's just that I can't remember hearing it.
Please link that or timestamp or wherever you saw that, because I didn't catch that. So it Star Citizen Live, you reckon?
They've certainly said things like they'd solve the big problem, the last hurdle with. I think that ship's modularity, and I think that was referring to, the concertinaing of the ship. So that was the big thing that was holding up the whole sea, the fact that the ship had to change shape, and that it would open up, and then the spindles would open up. That was the big thing that I recall being the issue. But yeah, I don't recall it being the thing for modularity itself.
Okay, do you want to do the next question, please, Algared?
Yep. Shinobi Trip. Do you think they will release show the tally rework at CitizenCon? It would be nice to see some more stuff on the tally, because we know it's been going for a rework. But I think the loss of staff who moved across to other endeavours and left the company, and the retraining of staff slowed everything down. A bit like COVID slowed everything down. So, and the fact that Squadron 2 impacts as well. We know that the tally is needed for Squadron. So I wouldn't be surprised to see tally rework as part of that show off, or because it ties in with both. So yeah, what do you think?
Which was the question? Sorry, it was
tally rework for CitizenCon.
Potentially, but it's going to be really done for Squadron 42 first. I think it's a tough one, because it's also got the modules there as well, which is a really tough one.
Yep.
Yeah, anything's possible, but I put it in a priority order, and I just don't think it's very high priority. It really comes down to Squadron 42's needs, and yes, it is in Squadron 42, but like, do ships need to dock for Squadron 42? Not really.
Yeah, my view is if they get it done, they might. It'd be nice. They got 2 days, so who knows what we're going to fill up with, but
yeah,
we're good.
Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once, obviously.
Patch 44. has a question.
Yep.
They say, question, what happens at the Foundation Festival? Do we get some ships on sale?
You'll have to wait to the
You'll
episode
have
with
to wait and
Algared, because Algared will probably do that as one of the streams with himself and Paul. But it's mainly for showing new people around.
Yep, it's Foundation Festival really is looking at the, it is an in-law event. It's looking at the origins of Foundation, literally getting out there. But, and my memory's just gone blank onto the actual thing, but it is an in-law event.
It's the guide system, is essentially what it is.
But it's highlighting the guide system and showing people around and all the rest of it. So it's looking at ways to reward and focus on being guides, which I think is huge. So yeah. Walker 300 or Walker 300. Paul uses reward coins for his questions.
Yep, that's the thing we were talking about from before.
Yep. Well, if people super chat us, their questions do jump a queue, but you never have to. You never have to do that with us. We just look for our questions. But
he was talking about highlighting questions on Twitch. You've gone the wrong place of what he's talking about.
Yep. But Paul does that because he doesn't have our bot. Is what I was just about to say. So our bot makes our life easy because we just go down our list. We don't have to worry about whether it's chat. It just pulls out any question. So on both channels. So it makes it really easy for us. So yeah. But we'll use something. We'll get it sorted.
Yeah, I don't know where to set up the stuff for Twitch. I'm gonna have to get help from someone to do that stuff. Expat was helping.
Yeah, some of the people who use Twitch a lot more than we do.
Yeah, so I'll have to go in. I was just turning off Stream Elements bot. It was spamming the hell out of the channel on the YouTube. I just realized, so I've just turned that off. We weren't using it anymore, so that's what I was doing. If you're wondering, right? Sorry about that. All right. I'll grab the next.
So Sangroper says, should we question Paul on his favourite ship and why it's Redeemer? You can if you like. But if you do it too much, we'll just start ignoring them like we do sometimes with our questions. So stop being a Sangroper.
All right. Next
Ropers.
question. Yeah, Ropers says, when do you think we will see the next capital ship fly ready? I have my hopes to see the Polaris in the next couple of years. I think the Polaris will definitely be one of the, it's being worked on, so it's just how long till it goes in game. I think one of the reasons it is being worked on though is that it shows that they're getting ready to start putting them in game. They wouldn't be making them if they were not wanting to put them in game, would they? So I think that shows that they're wanting server meshing to be ready to go.
It is the smallest capital ship. I think it's actually smaller than an 890. Don't quote me.
Let's have a quick look. I can do that.
And the 890 is a capital ship, so if it's smaller than an 890, I could see it coming in game if it's done. It's an RSI ship. We expect that the next citizen, or this IA will be focused on RSI. If it is, we expect half a dozen RSI ships to have work done, and one of them might be made flight ready. So it's conceivable that it could be, but how long's a bit of string when you're asking when something's going to be ready? And as I always say,
what was the other ship you said? What was the other ship you said besides 890? Yes, it is smaller than the 890.
So we got the 890 in game. I can't see that being that big an issue for it. It's certainly not an Idris.
So yeah, I think what you're trying to say is it's not limited by its size, Algared, in short.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So if it's done, it's ready, and it's just a matter of when they do it. And we know we're working on it. We expect for IAE, it's RSI, and they'll work on a whole pile, which means they've got a whole pile of assets ready.
Isn't that kind of crazy that a $750 ship is going to be smaller than one that originally started out at $250?
Well, that started off at 600, but yeah.
No, I said I didn't.
Yep.
I wasn't.
Yep.
Banner Mitch,
I
man.
know you weren't.
I was
doing
talking about
it
Banner
for that,
Mitch.
but yeah,
Yeah, I was talking
Yeah.
about, yeah.
the Banner. Yeah, that blows your mind. But even that, it's still that small ship started off more expensive than the 890. Staggering, isn't it? Zerus. I really like the ship's scrutiny videos. Would you do more ship scrutiny videos on more ships, i.e. Perseus, Hull B, CDE, BMM, Freelancer? Depends on what COG have put out and what information's there.
Yeah, some of those, like the BMM, it's changed so much that the more recent stuff has realistically changed a lot of the things. Like one of the things we keep hearing people saying, like on paper it says that there are 3 shops, but you clearly go look at the last videos they had on ISC. When you go through, it looks like there's 4 or more, right?
Yeah.
And that changes what we have on paper, and they haven't updated it themselves, so there's some little bit of conflict on that one. Stuff for the B, C, D, and E, that's all possible. That would just literally be like kind of essentially consolidating all the concept sale ones. The Freelancer is already kind of in game, so it's not really worth doing. As I said, a Freelancer would be a can we fix it?
Yeah. So ships that are in game are can we fix it? Ships that aren't in game are ship scrutiny.
Yep.
And that's where we literally go for every. So a Javelin ship scrutiny works because it's not in game. It may have been built, but it's not in game. We can't fly it. We can't. We've been able to walk through it in Invictus or areas of it in Invictus, but we can't. Not in game. So
Perseus we could do
what
though.
we can do. Perseus we could do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a matter of you go looking for the material and you go, well, there's lots of fan comments and thoughts about it, but there's nothing official. And we try to take the official stuff. And
the other thing that's hard is they also take a fairly sizable chunk of time, right? There are videos that we've sat down before we've even recorded a single word that have taken. I know there's ones that we've done that have taken 7 hours.
Oh,
right.
Crucible was a classic.
Yeah.
We watched every video they did on the Crucible.
And we don't always have the time to do that, especially of late. Algared's had a lot of stuff on, Paul's had a lot of stuff on, Badges has had a lot of stuff on. I've had a lot. Well, I'm about to go away for a month, so I've had days in the last fortnight where I've recorded 4 shows in a day to have stuff for you guys to watch while I'm away. So things like that. So, they just they're very time intensive because you've got to do a lot of research beforehand. So it's not that we don't want to do them, but the hardest part of this show, and I don't know if I've said this before, actually live on air, so to speak, is actually getting everyone together. It's not the content. The content just takes a bit, but that takes time. So that's getting, so we get 3 people together. That's all 3 people for 5 hours. Yeah. That's a huge time commitment. And when you take 5 hours and put that across all the time zones we do it in, someone's going to get screwed over. Like it's like, well, it's been 2 hours. I've got to go to bed now.
Because it's now 3 a.m. and I've got work in the morning.
Yeah. So it's just harder to do those ones. So we try to avoid them because they just take up too much time, and you get a hold of Space or Paul or Badges, and they've probably only got an hour or 2 to put in. They don't have that time anymore because things have changed for them. So, but if me and Algared do it, me and Algared will probably try and see if we can look into it.
But even when we did,
but what I'm trying to get at is if you want a Perseus one as an example, we might not be able to get Badges to do it, even though it's his favorite ship. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So
and we try and so for the Perseus one, we would actually want Badges in because Badges, he's Navy, B is his favourite ship, C he's actually done a lot more reading and is more up on the ship. When we did the Crucible and the Caterpillar, X and I went back and we watched every video and basically I think we read every article and everything they'd put out, and that took time.
Especially the the second one where we did the part 2, because
Yep.
what we did was we started looking at them after we'd done it, and then we're like, shit, we got some of this wrong. Oh shit, there's a lot more here.
We missed this stuff out. We missed this stuff out.
So we did
you
a
know,
whole part
and-
2 because it totally changed it. But again, we're not going to just delete the old video and go, here you go. So it just shows that we learn from our mistakes, so to speak.
Yep.
So yeah.
And the Caterpillar one, there were multiple videos, and it was just going through and trying to get that information. And then
I think there was
there's not
3 of
videos,
them, wasn't there,
but-
Algared? 3 different,
plus
and they were like 12 months apart, every single one
Yep.
of them. Yeah.
and there were the the jump point articles as well,
Yeah.
plus other areas and things you try to pull out the things that CIG have said at other things on on Q&As or other things about the ships. And so when we're doing those ship scrutinies, they're probably where we do the most research in terms of trying to make sure we've got that stuff right, because we're trying to consolidate all that information into one zone in a 30-minute max video, and sometimes we don't even manage to do that. So
I just realized what it is. I'm getting this headache, and I couldn't figure out what it is. It's the glasses with the headphones, and the headphones are.
yes, pressing
So
it against, yep.
If I put it at an angle, maybe I can. Oh, there we go. Oh, headache is going. Oh, thank God for that.
Now you know. Well, I got rid of the overhead headset.
Yep. Okay. All right. Next question is with who was this by? Sandgroper. Sorry, I missed your name, Sandgroper. I'm getting tired. With the Cutlass Black now the same.
Things rather than.
With the Cutlass Black now the same price as the Freelancer, has your recommendations in regards to either ship changed?
We answered that earlier on.
Yeah, I think no, because they kind of all went up together. The only one that would really kind of be affected is the Cutter to Avenger, but the Cutter went up in price, and now the Avenger's gone up in price, so it's kind of.
Yep.
So the Cutters, I think all ships are valid. Those 3 ships, all of them valid for different reasons. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're looking, as I said earlier, if you're looking for the absolute cheapest ship that does everything, you go for Cutter, and then you just work up and then skip anything in between to the next ship and go and eventually go to Cutlass. But yep.
I disagree with you at all on that one. Wait, man, Xeris, you doubling up in your questions, motherfucker. Right.
Yeah.
Worst part is I should read them before I copy them, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah, but it's just like us when we're answering questions. Sometimes we start reading it and go, "Oh, we've answered that one." So,
all right, you do that one.
I think it shows that we literally try and go through it and make sure we cover every question that's asked.
Yes, that is it.
So, all right. So, JC Kaboom says, "What is your opinion on allegedly Todd Pappy saying that the Hull C is not interstellar? Does not change your opinion on starters best pledge for an Endeavour base at 350 to be interstellar?"
All right, so answer that because I'm replying to someone. I'm getting multiple questions pinged at me. Something I've said, obviously.
I don't know whether Todd Pappy has said that it's not interstellar. It's not interplanetary, so you're not going to the planetary surface. If that's what you mean by interstellar, then yes. The Hull C is made for going between stations and going through jump points. That's what it's always been. So, so I don't know. I don't know. The allegedly Todd Pappy saying comes in. Is it the best pledge for an Endeavour base? Is so it doesn't change our opinion on starters, as we've said. Best pledge for base Starfarer 350. Well, it's the best shipping game just because of that, and the Swiss Army knife. So lots of stuff packed into that, and I'm not sure it necessarily. I think you got 3 questions there, effectively.
So the Hull C is inter-system, right?
Yep.
And maybe the next system over, as is the Hull B. But the Hull A and B are predominantly designed to go from station to planet because they can land.
Yep.
Right? That tells you that straight off the bat, right?
Yep. The
Hull C is the next size up. It's for within the system. The D and the E a different so the D is the main one that's meant to go between systems. The E, on the other hand, is like it's on a highway. Like it comes into Stanton, it stops at ArcCorp and only ArcCorp, and it goes straight out of the system onto the next system. It's dumping most of its load at one big station, and then it trickles down from the station into and the whole A's. Not just are they going to the city, but they're also going to places around the entire planet. So a bigger, like a city, a whole B might go there. A small outpost, a whole A will go there, right? And it just shows you how it's a trickle-down economy. It's exactly what happens in the real world. A ship leaves from Australia actually, it's usually coming to Australia because Australia doesn't do as much exporting, but you get my whole point. So at least China comes to Australia with a huge big load, lands in Sydney, everything gets unloaded in Sydney. Some things continue by a boat down to another city like Melbourne or up to Brisbane or wherever it goes. Some things are put under trucks. A massive truck will take it all the way to a small town. It's distributed down into vans. You get where I'm going. It goes on and on until it arrives at your door. That's essentially how it all works, right? They're all distributed and trickle down economy. Well, let's trickle down delivery, essentially.
You know, and you even look at Stanton. Stanton had a Covalex station. The Covalex station was the shipping hub. That is where all the containers went, and then from there, they went out to all the other places. That's what Covalex station was. It was the shipping hub. It's where all the big things came.
All right,
and then went out.
Algared, this is apparently where they're talking about the whole scene modularity. I don't believe it. They said whole C. I remember them talking about modularity being fixed, but what I was interested in when he said whole C and modularity, I'm like, what the fuck does whole C got to do with me? Anyway, I'm telling you I'm getting time now. All right, I just realized that. So let me cut this over. We're going to watch this. Algared, I'm not going to switch you over because it's only going to be very quick. So.
Perennial questions here. First one is ship modularity. I mean, I don't even need to read it, do I? But it says, has there been any progress on modularity since it was last talked about?
Yes. Good news at last.
Good news.
Well, we'll be the judge of that. We'll be the judge of that.
So,
you ready, chat?
Eyes on the track, guys. Come on.
So, with the development of the whole C, we've pretty much figured out the last hurdle. And in fact, Chris is responsible for the test that I got him to do.
Okay, I take it all back. They did say the whole C. Right, okay, cool. So there was something to do with the whole C that unlocked whatever it was.
X, because I'm not switched over, I've got the lag. So you actually talked over.
It's fine. It was there, trust me. Just trust me on that one, Algared. All right. Yeah, okay. Let's go back to the other one. Now,
they just said it.
Yeah, cool. All right, next question, Algared. If you can do the next one, please, and I'll do the one after that. So, JC Kaboom.
When patch 4.0.
When patch 4
again, so I'm not hearing it again.
When patch 4.0 realistically coming out. So it would be realistically coming out with server meshing.
Yep. When we get server meshing, which will be Pyro. So
it was meant to be kind of, wasn't it? It was September. I don't know. It's been a while. I'll have to go look it up. But they wanted to schedule it for the end of this year, right? And a lot of people don't think they're going to hit that target because it got pushed. So look how badly persistent energy streaming took to get in, right? So it's going to be the same thing again. I think you could safely say probably mid next year, right? I think that could, if that's what they're aiming for, bit of bugginess and all that, push it back. Kind of similar what happened to Pez, but we'll have to wait and see. It really comes down to how long it's going to take them. And again, we're on the outside. It's hard to be on the outside looking in. It could be further along than we realize. We just don't know. It could be easier to integrate. I don't think so, than Pez. But also things that Pez allowed, it would allow. Also, they're going for static meshing first, and then they're doing dynamic. So once the static comes in, I think it'll be. The static is definitely easier to do than dynamic. So I do think we could get static by the end of the year, which would be Pyro. Actually, now I think about it, I think we will get Static and Pyro by the end of the year.
They can, well, they could do the, run those two servers separately because they're different. You just got to have the link. So they could. It'd be nice if they do. But yeah, when it's ready, when we go to Pyro, that's when we go 4.0.
All right, closing down the bot. We've on the last question.
We've got the last question, which is from Carlton Whitfield. Do you think this Starfarer is fixable? Yes.
Absolutely.
We will do a fix my fleet on it. We'll do a can we fix it?
We did one already.
We had, but we will do another one.
I think it just, how do I put this? The whole thing with that was how the corridors worked. It's one of the older ships where they're originally going to have crawl spaces. It's actually the only example of a ship with crawl spaces in game. The only one. And they changed it because of AI, essentially, because AI, it was just too much for them. How do you control where it, because when a person stands up, they have from above, they have a very small footprint. If you lie someone down, they have a lot larger footprint, right? So you're trying to get AI to go through a doorway. You can see straight away, it's a lot harder to control. You have to figure out it's too hard to figure that out. Where if it's just top down, you can it's a lot easier to do.
You can even see that issue with AI with the Phoenix. People often say, why are the Phoenix seats so far away from the table when you're sitting at those side here? It's so AI can get in and out.
Yeah.
It's so that your avatar can get in and out of those seats without clipping into the furniture.
And crouching doesn't have that problem because it's still got the same footprint from above, so to speak. It's just specifically the prone stuff, and I think that's why they removed it specifically. We've never really seen AI do much. Well, I've never seen AI do dynamic crawling of you. I've seen them do scripted crawling, but I've never ever seen them do dynamic crawling. Not in my time, anyway. And that's probably why. And then it's just access problems like the silly elevator placement and stuff like that. And I think that can all be fixed very quickly. It won't be an external rework. It'll be an internal. And the only two things that are going to line up, if you think about it, is the turret. Oh, actually, there's more than two now. The turrets at the back, the big back door, and the door that goes out to the refueling area. I don't know what else to call that. What do you call that? The gantry?
The gantry?
Yeah.
Anything else? The industrial level gantry and
anything else that you can see? You could probably move around the living quarters and stuff
like
that.
The docking collars down the bottom as well. So
that's probably gone.
That's probably gone.
You could
because of the issues they have with.
You could essentially potentially integrate the docking collar into the back. Oh no, that wouldn't work because it's too small.
No, it needs to be a side-on docking collar. If you're going to have a docking collar,
you'd have to put that up the top near the living quarters or something.
Possibly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, it has issues that need to be developed, and we know that they want to rework it because it's basically, and when it was first created, they created it as a FPS level. Yeah, it is an FPS level, and so it's got the nooks and crannies of an FPS level, but it doesn't necessarily work as a ship.
And it has a lot of follow-on repercussions too, because it's used a lot in the game. So when they redo it, it's going to break all the ones that are currently in game. So
and that's why
it's such a hassle, because they're essentially, but they are doing new wrecks, aren't they? So when they do it, they'll probably replace some of them and update others and stuff like that. So I don't know, it'll just take time.
But I think it's one of those ships that will benefit from you've got old versions of a ship and new versions of a ship.
Yeah, that's another way they could absolutely go that way too. Yeah. 100%. So
that means they can keep the old tech for the wrecks and stuff that they're doing in things like Xenothreat, but they don't need to.
That'd be kind of. I know they won't do 2 reworks, so it would be kind of cool if you had a difference between the Starfarer and the Gemini.
And the G. It would be nice to do that and see a difference in that.
Because you wouldn't essentially need as much crew on a Gemini because it's just a fuel transporter. Which would be interesting. It definitely doesn't need 8 crew anymore. Well, not that I think it. Well, you tell me if you think different.
I don't even think the Starfarer needed 8 crew.
No, that's what I meant. The Starfarer is 8 crew. But you've got the There's 5 just in the cockpit alone, and then 2 at the turrets at the back. So there's 7, and then one in the engine room has 8.
And the
I-
top. And
I
the-
think it
and there's a
also-
turret at the top as well. So,
Yeah, so the
you know, you've got
cockpit-
three-
The cockpit would definitely have to get a rework. Is what I'm saying.
So you got 3 turrets plus the pilot, the
And just how
Something
long? Just think
safe.
about how long it takes you to get up from a seat in the cockpit and get to that turret at the top.
it takes forever.
What oversight!
Yeah, it
Oh,
is
dear.
really
Yeah.
it is really it is an FPS level, and that's the biggest problem with the Starfarer.
Yeah.
That
That might actually have to get a bit of an external rework now I think about it, because that turret needs way quicker access.
well,
Mm.
even if you were to look and say,
Mm.
if you're looking at just a fuel transport, do you really need to have that huge cargo area in the back? No.
Mm.
You know, that huge cargo area really is where I imagine where refineries would go, you know, so you can actually do your refinery work.
Mm. Yeah, well, you got the cores, don't you? It's got a reactor core with three pieces in it, so 3 small.
You know, so if you don't need that cargo space, you can significantly shrink the size of the Starfarer.
Mm.
You know, so yeah, it's fixable, but the new Starfarer will probably look a lot different from the current version. You know, so anyway,
I'm
that's
just
the
looking.
last question.
Yeah, I'm just looking for someone to raid on Twitch, but the browser is not working.
Fishy snuck in with a question now. What's he's got? Question with CIG mentioning BH 2.0 more and more, and a noticeable number of combat ships lacking space for bounty hunting or bounty pods. Do you think CIG is going to quantum launch a bounty pod for us post combat?
Sorry, what was the last question? I missed that one.
Fishy2951 has a question
With
about bounty
CIG
hunting.
to more and more noticeable number of combat ships lacking space for bounty hunting pods, do you think CIG is going to do quantum launching bounty hunting pods to... No. So basically, the only other one that I think that will be becoming a bounty hunter is the Redeemer. I think they'll put a cargo module on it, and much just like the Avenger or the Blue, the cargo area in the back will allow pods to go into it. Because eventually you'll be able to take the pods out of the Blue, and it will be essentially like a Cutlass Black, but with a better armor and stuff. So eventually, over time, the Cutlass Blue will probably be the best version of the Cutlass because of the extra
John
stuff.
Chavez has got snuck another question in there.
All right, go for it.
Will Seraphim Station make you change your base to Crusader? I'll still probably stay at Hurston because I'm a Hurston. There you go.
I will have to think about that one. It's not something I thought about.
No, it's. I usually go Hurston because it's still central for what I want, and I do like the look of Hurston in terms of the Australiana look of eucalypts everywhere, or what feel like eucalypts everywhere. But I did stay at Olisar originally for a long time, even after the stations came out, because I liked Olisar. So, who knows? Who knows? Anyway, that's the last question. I'm not gonna. If you put any more questions in, I'm not gonna even answer them. So.
All right then. I'm going to raid DG360. We haven't raided him in a while. So you guys on Twitch, thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next week, hopefully. Then I will be away for 4 weeks, so I'll miss 4 streams with you guys. But Algared and Paul should be picking up the slack while I'm gone.
Yep.
So everyone on YouTube, say goodbye. I was going to say, Algared, this has been the worst lag of this stream. It's been the worst it's ever been. Right, anyway, so you guys on Twitch, say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube, say goodbye to Twitch. So off they go. They are done and gone. As for YouTube, me and Algared will get a show out to you guys this weekend, as per usual. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you for all the extra people that go to Shimon on Patreon, YouTube memberships, Twitch memberships and subs, all that type of stuff. So thank you very much. All right, you guys take
Never
care.
expected, always appreciated.
The voice in the void has been Algared.
That's right. The laggy voice in the void, which has been I don't know about.
It has been. I'm gonna fucking strangle you. Shut the fuck up. Right. I've been Execute. We'll catch you in the next one. I'm
right,
so gonna
care.
kill you. Right. I'm done.